burning light to be known about people. Gotta reach 'em, sit right down.
And that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut.
Want to get it off your chest? You're in the right place. They accuse this show of being run by boobs. Well, let me tell you about these boobs. We're real and we're spectacular. Want politics and fun sprinkled with a lot of laughs? Heard in every state in the Union and 770 cities around the world. We just finished 15 years of broadcast excellence. Now in our 16th year, the Dave Weinbaum Show is streaming live all over the world. From President Trump last night on X, I won the debate, but was criticized by the radical left because I looked angry and forceful. Why wouldn't I be angry? I love the USA, and it's being destroyed by incompetent leadership. Inflation, a terrible economy, horrible military decisions, no respect from around the world, and more than 20 million people, many from prison and mental institutions, are pouring into our country, creating havoc, crime, and destruction like never seen before. Am I supposed to be smiling like Comrade Kamala Harris with her fake smile and rehearse facial expressions despite all of the problems that she and Crooked Joe have caused? There's nothing to smile about. But there will be soon. When America makes the biggest comeback in history, November the 5th, make America great again. Never give up. Never let up, and you'll never let your country down. Vote.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history, because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country.
Hey, welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. I'm Dave Weinbaum. I'm your radio podcast host. My lovely bride is here, and she's early again. I'm so proud. That's 2 weeks in a row.
Do I get an award?
You should get some kind of a bonus, I think.
Okay.
Next week, I'll do the dishwasher.
Oh, good.
See?
Good.
Once,
Thank
but
you.
I'll do it. Okay. All right. So that's my lovely wife, Lisa Ann Weinbaum, known as the Law. And my producer, JP, I was going to say JP Morgan, but
I mean, I'll take it. I'm not going to argue.
well, you should take what he has.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Except for the advice that Kamala Harris seems to think she got from him, which is denied by him, by the way.
Yeah, fair point.
That's JP Maxwell right here.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, JP. We have Rick Henderson out there in Salem, Missouri, and he makes the clips and the bits, and I had him do a little extra stuff here because I want to play into this. I mean, the theme of the show is going to be the debate, and we now are getting information that it was fixed, that there's a whistleblower who says that Kamala was given the questions by ABC and was told that they weren't going to fact check her, but they were going to do it to Trump. What kind of, that's 3-on-1. And so she comes back and wants another debate. And Trump says, forget it. It's already 3-1. Don't forget the Biden debate where he really pretty much killed Biden's chances of returning. And by the way, Biden was caught the day after the debate, wearing a MAGA hat. Can you believe that? I mean, what kind of message is that the day after the debate? You know, he's still got to be ticked off. I mean, look, the guy had 14 million votes. Right now, her total is zippity doodah. She has no votes. It's probably illegal what they're doing, but okay, it's there and it's going to happen. All right, so our guest today, and you're going to be really, really entertained by these people and also informed. JJ Bradshaw will be contacting me any second now, I believe. Rabbi Moshe Rothschild, he'll be giving the Israel report, and I think he might be back in Jerusalem. Last week he was late, and he said it was because he was in New Jersey, as if the New Jerseyans don't know how to keep time. I don't know if that's correct or not. But at 9:30, another special treat, Pat and Mark McCloskey. That'll be fun. You know, he's the guy that got almost invaded at his house. He did get invaded at his house, led by Cori Bush, Black Lives Matter, and Antifa. And now, guess what? Cori Bush no longer has a job because she was voted out. How about? Can we get some applause for that one? Yeah. Okay, that's enough.
You're going to say ex-congresswoman. Isn't that so fitting?
It's I always wondered. It's not congresswoman. It's congressman. All right. I don't know why there are women. Well, I guess at one point there was no women in it. I see some flashing back there. We have two more people to announce. One is Bill Hardwick, and this is going to be fun. And with him, I believe, will be Don Mayhew. These guys are both reps. They're good friends. And Mayhew was complaining because he wanted the earlier hour, so I gave him the earlier hour, and I moved Bill to 10:30. And so, I made a change, and it might just be a funny situation as to what I did. but you got to pay. You got to stay tuned for that. Now, before me, I've got a handsome fellow who just went dark. What the heck happened there? Huh?
It's on. There it is. Yeah.
Okay. There he is. He's playing around with something. I don't know what it is, but this man is 256 years old. He is an expert on the Constitution, especially the Second and First Amendments. He is a ardent. He's a veteran, and he's also was around for the Revolutionary War, where he and Ben Franklin and Ben Franklin and who else was there? Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. They were there, and they were at the Ye Olde Tavern down there in Arlington, Virginia, and they used to pick up pioneer women. Please welcome all the way from Rolla, Missouri, John Jeffrey Bradshaw. Although did you get kicked out of the house or what?
I'm in my pickup because I have some chores to do this morning, but
okay.
ours is a portable society.
Yeah.
Last week, I was talking to you from a bedroom at Gadsden Shooting Center. Thank God for portability.
Well, yeah, portability, and you're always welcome to come in live, as you've done on occasion.
I got to come in and flirt with Lisa on occasion.
Yeah, well, that's I'm not telling your wife. I'm just what am I going to tell?
She's watching, so it's okay.
Yeah, well, so is she. So
hey, you mentioned at the beginning in your monologue, we're going to talk some things about the debate, and
yes.
I have a lot to say about the debate.
Okay.
I too read the revelations that Kamala was given. Questions that were very much like what were asked by the ABC talking heads. And you or I could have predicted that so very easily. Remember, Hillary Clinton was given the questions by a Marxist in her debate. So this is nothing new for these leftists. Cheating is like breathing. That's just the way they roll. But, the day after the debate and the day after that, I was watching polling. And not unsurprising, the powers that be, the major networks, the polling outfits that are a little left-leaning, said Kamala won. Well, maybe she did, but let's take this thing apart a little bit. A good debate would have had folks talking about potential policy issues. There was none of that. The only thing Kamala mentioned that was even remotely related to policy was a $6,000 child credit and $25,000 credit for new home buyers. Well, just for a moment, let's take a look at that $25,000. You know what's going to happen in the housing market if that thing hits? Surprise, the price of houses just went up $25,000.
Yeah, that's going to be
inflation.
Sure.
There is no meat in that sandwich, Dave. And that's the only policy she had. Now, she had a lot of feel-good things to say.
She has another policy where they're going to charge you on how much your assets increase, whether you cash in on them or not. So those houses will naturally go up in value, and so they're going to tax you on the back end.
Yes. Unrealized capital gains, Dave.
Sure.
And if you happen to have a few bucks in your nest egg, they're going to take them. I don't know if you recall or not, but this was tried during Lyndon Baines Johnson's tenure in the White House. And he didn't have a very happy Congress at that time. And the Congress said, absolutely not. Of course, it would have taken money out of their pockets as well.
Sure.
So this has been tried and fell down in flames, and it should. But the point that I'm trying to make is neither Trump nor Harris made much noise about what they intended to do as a matter of policy. Trump could have beaten her to death in that debate had he only brought up all the failures of her administration and suggested that there's going to be more of the same if you hire this woman as our CEO. But he didn't. She got under his skin. And what a damn shame that was, because he could have steamrolled her in that and didn't. She already had the questions. And if you notice, there wasn't any of the cackling or word salad. She had practiced this stuff for the last week, knew what the questions were going to be, was
Right.
well coached in her answers. Um, this was nothing but kabuki. It's nothing but political theater, and we learned nothing from that debate.
Well, yeah, we
Absolutely
learned a lot.
nothing.
We learned a lot because she was lying straight out. The
Yes, the fact check.
2025 report, all of this stuff was debunked well before this, and she wasn't getting fact checked, and Trump was getting fact checked. It's tough to play when it's 3-1,
Yeah,
especially when the people that have the real controls are the ABC cheaters. You
they
know,
should be ashamed. ABC
and
should be ashamed.
you've got a Democrat, a guy named Penn, who was very close to the Clintons, saying they need to do an investigation of what ABC did.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Will it happen? Of course not. We're run by Democrats. They're not going to prosecute any of this stuff. They haven't prosecuted any of the egregious crimes that have happened the last 3.5 years.
Well,
Instead, they took off and prosecuted Trump on purely political grounds. And speaking to that, the January 6th folks, about half of those cases have been thrown out.
yeah.
Good. Maybe there is some shreds of justice left in our world. I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical about all that. But back to the debates. Debates in the 1960s and even in the 70s were about policy. There was very little backbiting. People treated each other with at least a modicum of respect. And now this is all backbiting. Let's make this a personal attack. This is right out of Saul Alinsky's playbook. By all means, read Rules for Radicals. Right after that, read Rules for Defeating Radicals.
Yeah.
You'll get an
Our good
insight
friend,
into exactly what these people are doing.
Chris Adamo, that's our good friend. That's his book.
Yes,
Yeah,
and it's a good read.
it is.
But in order for it to make any sense, you got to read Rules for Radicals first.
Right.
Then you'll have the right mindset. Let's talk about J.D. Vance for just a moment.
Okay.
I saw the movie Hillbilly Elegy.
How was it?
The movie tells you what happened. I've got the book now, and I'm in the process of reading it. And
Okay.
the book tells you what was going on inside the man's head while all this stuff was going on. It's an intriguing read. Gives you a nice insight into what the fellow that I hope will become our vice president is made of. Very interesting read. Okay, back to the debate again. If I feel a little scattered today, it's because I'm kind of wound up. This is my Friday venting.
It's not just Friday now. Wait a minute. It's Friday the 13th.
It's Friday.
Where's Nancy Pelosi? I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I expect Pelosi to come riding into your studio on a broomstick.
Exactly.
That debate had no substance to it, and the talking heads the next day tried to act as though there was substance there, and there was nothing. Kamala, she said about 4,000 words, but there wasn't anything in them. It was all touchy-feely, feel-good, vote for me, I'll take care of you stuff, and no substance. What a shame. The debates out of the 60s and 70s were substantially better. You actually learned something out of that. And 67 million people watched this thing.
Yeah.
67 million. I'll give you a little bright spot, though.
Okay.
A Michigan Insider Advantage poll showed Trump at a 1-point lead, 5 points among independents after the debate. Now, Harris supposedly won the debate, but it was all feel-good stuff. They fact-checked Trump out the kazoo and didn't fact-check her once.
And they were lying about it. They were lying about it. Pure lies about it. All right. The economy has really come up compared to the Trump economy.
No, I'm sorry, but that's just not the case. Go to the grocery store, buy a tank of gasoline, you'll recognize the problem.
People aren't stupid. I mean, some are, but most Americans know what it's cost them over the last 3.5 years compared to what Trump was doing. And look at all the wars we're in now. Okay,
Yeah.
look at this. It's getting pretty serious in Russia because they're attacking Russia with U.S. made, U.S. Intel made equipment, and Putin's getting a little bit. Well, let's put it this way: uh, Elon Musk is getting very nervous about this
He should be.
in terms of what could happen, because he's hinting that he's going to go after the U.S., after Europe, and this will be the start of World War III.
And it will be a nuclear war. Somebody will push the
Yeah.
button, probably Putin. Why?
Well, he's
Because
desperate.
our commander in chief is missing in action. He probably couldn't find the button if it was demanded that he
Oh,
do
sure,
so.
you could find him. He's on the beach.
He's a fool and a loser.
Well, he always has been.
Yes.
Yeah. No surprise.
Okay. On to the disaster that is our
Yeah.
economy. I read a little piece. Mike Johnson has pulled the continuing resolution spending bill that would fund the federal government for a while. And he's pulled it because he doesn't have consensus. The big bone of consensus is the SAVE Act, which will require voter identification across the board. The Dems don't want that. And he's got to have a hell of a pull in the Republicans. He's got to have all of them to even get that thing through the House. It's dead on arrival in the Senate. But you know, we do continuing resolution after continuing resolution.
Right.
Why? Because our Congress doesn't have the sand to actually put together an honest to God budget, and they haven't for years. If you read the budgets that have been proposed over the past decade or so, they're absolutely ridiculous. They're loaded with garbage, and not just from the Democrat side. They're loaded with garbage from both sides. They're bloated spending bills. It's no wonder the darn things don't pass. And this has become business as usual in our Congress. The Senate isn't any better. If you look at the Senate proposed bills, they're garbage as well. And if you want an example of this thing, how about Biden's Build Back Better plan? How about that inflation Green New Deal piece of garbage? Have you seen any concrete poured, Dave, as a result of that?
No.
Have you seen a bridge being built? Have you seen anything that was positive out of that tremendous boondoggle spending? No. All of that money went to their socialist buddies.
Sure.
It's been funneled off. It's been spent. And you got no net gain as a result of it.
Let me get back to this.
all over.
Let me get back to this continuing resolution.
Yeah.
Where they want to put things back to. Well, a lot of that is about this bill that that we should have somehow make sure that illegals don't get the right to vote.
That is the SAVE Act, Dave. And
Huh?
that's in that.
Yeah, and that's
CR,
a big
and
deal
it has
right there.
become,
So, like 2.5% of the Democrats want them to be able to vote. In other
That's
words,
right.
they're going to steal the election, and then they want us to fund the government based on that. I mean, do we have stupid written all over our faces or what?
Apparently, they think we do. Dave, I don't know what the man on the street thinks. I'm not him. But this flies in the face of anything that approaches a representative republic. We're being fed a bill of goods, and these people are stealing it right under our noses.
Sure.
And don't
They're
even
blaming
bother
us.
to hide it. They don't even bother to hide it anymore.
That's right.
So the bone of contention in that continuing resolution, which I am completely against, I'd like to shut the federal government down. They do less damage that way. But this thing would hold spending at its current levels for another few months while supposedly the House of Representatives attempts to pound out some kind of a budget. They have failed to do that again and again and again. Why? Are they working for us? No. They're working for special interests. They're working for themselves. They're working for the Marxists. They're working for anyone but us patriots that pay their taxes and pay their salary. A continuing resolution was intended to be a stopgap measure, an emergency measure.
Always.
And it has become business as usual within the Congress. it really is time to kick these folks out and put some folks in that aren't afraid to do the right thing. Why don't these congressmen actually try to solve the problem? Because they won't get reelected, or at least they're told they won't. It would not surprise me if they were wholesale kicked out, if they actually tried to do the right thing. Just take a look at any of the legislation that's trickled out of that pile of morons. It's all garbage. It's written by lobbyists.
Sure.
These guys may or may not read it, and they vote on it. This continuing resolution is a very bad idea. Go ahead, shut the government down. Force this thing to be a one item, one vote, the way our founding fathers intended it to be. Their intention was
that is the most important issue I've seen in a long time about why not to sign on to this continuing resolution, and that is that we just will give up on our First Amendment rights and Second Amendment rights if we go along with this, because there's no way to have 20 million people walk into the country who are not legal to do that. Give them the vote. I mean, crazy people got to know that. People out there, do you know that? Give me a call, 573-578-2700, or
You can also reach us on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, and on YouTube.
yeah, that is a key element in everything that's going on.
Remember that Kamala Harris mentioned in the debate that Trump asked the House of Representative leadership to kill the border bill.
Right.
I don't know if you've read the border bill. I did. And it would allow 5,000 illegal immigrants to cross our borders. Now, we have a law against that, and this would memorialize that. This would make it legal to do that. She also said, well, we're going to increase the number of Border Patrol people. You know what, folks, she's increasing? The folks that process the illegals as they come across the fence.
And by the way, isn't she the border czar? Isn't she the border czar? Anyone? Branson, Missouri? Huh? What do you think?
Have you noticed that has vanished off her webpage?
No, I haven't noticed that. Darn it.
Read her webpage sometime. It's a big old nothing burger, Dave. It's a Big Mac without the meat. There's nothing there.
No.
Actually, that was an insult to McDonald's. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
Her border bill, her border policy amounts to opening the gates and saying, come on in. What are they giving these folks? A debit card, a place to live, medical aid, schooling. We're not giving that to our own citizens, for Pete's sake. And we're giving this away to people who would like to kill us, or at least
I think America understands. I think I'm getting the notion that blacks, Latinos are realizing that a lot of their jobs now are going to the illegal aliens.
They're recognizing that all these giveaways are not.
They're no longer the favored minorities anymore.
You think that's going to change the vote, Dave?
Huh?
Do you think that's going to change the vote?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
And what percentage? Because now we're down to a few percentage points.
We got to worry about ourselves out here in the country. We got to get people from here to go vote. One guy had a really good idea on Fox on, I believe it was, Monday or Sunday or something. He said, why don't we get these college stadiums? Why don't the GOP rent out these college stadiums and give a rally and a sign-up situation for these 20 to 23, 24-year-old students that are there that are male, mostly male? Why don't we do that? There's a problem there. You know how they'd vote, but they never get quite around to doing it. Well, here's their opportunity. I thought it was a good idea.
They would probably say they were coerced into voting Republican and file a lawsuit.
Well, whatever. You take your chance.
You know, Dave, we have watched this thing degenerate over the years, and we've commented on it. We've criticized it. Sometimes I feel like we're barking at the moon, but we've watched this thing degenerate. We've watched our country gradually turning into a third world hellhole. Go to San Francisco, go to Washington, D.C., you'll see what Venezuela looks like. We bring people into this country and give them things. We're talking about giving them Social Security. I paid into that thing my entire lifetime, and you're going to give it to somebody who came into our country illegally?
Sure.
What is wrong with this picture, and how in the world are these people getting away with that? Well, we're going to find out November 5th, aren't we? Because I know which direction I am going to vote. And I encourage all my friends and colleagues to vote in the same manner. We cannot continue in this direction. We will, if Kamala Harris gets in, we're doomed, Dave. We're pretty much screwed across the board. The value of our dollar will be worth nothing. Our Social Security will go away.
And this is what they want.
They will give benefits to everyone except the citizens of this
country. And why
country.
would they do that? Tell me, why do you think they want to do that?
They're buying Democrat votes so that they can stay in power in perpetuity. And in fact, if she wins, it will probably be the last election we have on a.
Well, the last real election. They'll pretend to have an election, but I'm not sure. I'm not so sure they're not pretending right now. I mean,
look what happened in Venezuela.
The last buffalo, to quote Willis, Bob Willis, the last buffalo or the last voters in America.
Look what happened in Venezuela, Dave. The opposition candidate won the popular vote, and he's in exile right now.
Sure.
That ought to tell you something. This is what a Harris administration will look like.
Well, we already had an assassination attempt that nobody can explain against Trump, and nobody can explain how rigged that was. And I'd like to know the real story about that someday. And also he's got Robert Kennedy along with him, and maybe put Kennedy in charge of unclassifying everything about his father and uncle's murder, and also this FBI biased reports about Trump's attempted assassination.
What garbage that is, Dave. That those people would expect that we would buy that little bit of novella. No, I don't think so. Any reasonable person's going to look at that and say, no, this is BS. This is nothing but BS. And to expect the Secret Service to investigate themselves? Come on.
No. All right, my friend, give me your best last shot here.
Well, Dave, it's been my pleasure talking with you on a Friday morning. I will do it again next Friday.
Thank you so much. You are invited officially right now. See, I've got one guest already, but he always does it. I mean, I don't know when have you not wanted to be on?
I have not missed a single one, Dave.
You're about the best guest I've ever had, and that includes the rabbi, who was 8 minutes late last week, and I had a crushing agenda there. So, but you know what? He had a good excuse. He was in New Jersey. That was
when the rabbi's late. You just need to learn how to tap dance. That's the way it is.
Listen, I do a lot of tap dancing here. You just don't realize how I tap dance. It's ugly. Hey, let's hear it for John Jeffrey Bradshaw.
Good day, my friend.
Thank you, JJ. And right now we're going to let's do some commercials. Let's get the first 5 and go see these people buy stuff in their stores or their businesses. And if you want to be a sponsor on the show, I'm open to hiring people who want to be sponsors. Please call me at 573-578-2700 after the show. Hit it.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day. Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Raleigh, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Honey, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're filling up a swimming pool.
Yep, I'm filling up a swimming pool.
In our living room?
How else am I going to watch the game and stay cool?
If your AC is on the fritz, call Hartley's Climate Control. Hartley's is the area's best in HVAC repairs, installs, and maintenance. Knowledgeable, honest, and dependable. Serving Rolla and the surrounding areas for commercial or residential needs. Hartley's Climate Control. Community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy, but also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender, all one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
At your locally owned Price Chopper, our standards are high because we know yours are. See for yourself what an incredible fresh selection of grocery items we have in store. Talk to our expert meat associates about what you're looking for. They're happy to meet any special requests like custom cuts, or see our expert produce associates on how to pick out the best fruits and vegetables. Quality in the deli means fresh, full flavor, and always delicious. If you're craving fresh baked goodness, we have that too. You can expect the best selection and the best value while interacting with our friendly and knowledgeable employees. You can find what you're looking for fast and easily at the best prices at Price Chopper. Fresh savings every day. A-Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the #1 sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
Gotta reach 'em, see it right now.
Insurance going up like crazy? Daniel and Henry Insurance is one of the largest private insurance companies in the world. Richard Boyette, 314-444-5011. He's my guy at Daniel and Henry for 10 years. Business or personal, call Richard at 314-444-5011. He's the best.
At Town & Country Bank, we've got all the perks of a national bank, like online banking, quick loan approval, and you can deposit your check from your phone. But that's not why our customers love us. They love us because we still offer hometown customer service. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly team remind you how special hometown banking can be. We're locally owned and will take the time to understand your needs. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right, we're back on the show. Rabbi isn't called in yet. He must be in New Jersey again. It could be 8 minutes late for all I know. But let's look at the board, see if we got anybody calling in, or and the way to do it is call 573-578-2700, or
you can also leave us a live comment on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on Rumble.
Here's Buddy Wolf. Good morning, Dave and crew. Good morning to you, buddy. Thanks for listening. Appreciate that. John Jeffrey Bradshaw. I guess this was before his. Yeah, let's get it on. I'll tell you what, we got some great guests. Rico Camino, who is one of the. I think I talked about his friend Henderson. Yeah. He says, good morning. And Patricia Odin Maxwell, looking good, sounding good. Go team. That's great. Anybody else? Roy Maddox. Good morning, Bradshaw. And look who's there. All right. And
right on
let me tell you about this guy. He is a wartime rabbi, takes dollars that you contribute to buy up to buy up-to-date equipment and supplies for the troops. He helps widows of dead soldiers. Official rabbi to the Dave Weinbaum Show. Second most important rabbi in Israel. Please welcome all the way, I believe, from Israel, Rabbi Moshe Rothschild. So you have accomplished what you couldn't do in New Jersey, and that is you got here relatively on time.
Well, I arrived back this morning into Israel.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah. Just a few hours ago.
Didn't even come and visit? No visit this time?
Mm-hmm. No, not this time. I'll be back in November, but not sure I'm going to be in your area. But we'll see.
It's okay. It's fine. You're always welcome. So Kamala in debate, Hamas did a terrible thing, but their punishment should be the 2-state solution. Once again, being rewarded by the Biden administration and Kamala, including Kamala, with this thing that will get a lot of Jews killed, a lot of Gazans killed, a lot of Arabs killed. Once again, the Biden administration is feckless as to what the hell they're doing. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. This is what I call the 2-state delusion, that it will have absolutely devastating consequences for Israel and, for that matter, for the world, because you're just going to create another terrorist state. We had, since 2006, we had an example of what would happen in the 2-state solution. And Gaza was the possibility of an Arab state. Yeah. And we all know what happened there. It got completely commandeered by the terrorists, and culminating with October 7th. So it's a failed experiment,
Exactly. And it was instigated by who?
I think initially Jimmy Carter, perhaps. But
by Israel.
Well, Israel didn't come up with the idea of a 2-state solution, but the notion is so insane at this point to even reasonably to understand how any reasonable people could think that it's a good idea.
What did Sharon have to do with it?
Oh, well, no, Sharon had to do with Gaza, pulling out of Gaza. His reasoning was not to create an Arab state, but it de facto created an Arab state, and we don't need to create an Arab state. Another one, a Palestinian.
So that one was there, and it was done by an Israeli prime minister, the leader of Israel, and not only did he have all the Jews removed from Gaza, He even removed the graves of the Jews that had lived and died there.
Right, live and dead Jews. But he wasn't, his reasoning, which obviously turns out to be wrong, but he had half the country supporting him. But his reasoning for pulling out of Gaza was that they are a large population and we don't want to rule over them and risk the lives of our soldiers protecting 8,000 Jews who are living there. That was what he said. And number two is, if we pull all the Jews out of Gaza, then we will be the darlings of the world, and they're not going to fire rockets at us. And if they do, the whole world will be on our side because they'll know that there are no Israelis or Jews there. Now, looking back,
that's what everyone's talking about.
I'm saying we know how naive that was. And Sharon had said that the first rocket that's fired from Gaza, we're going to flatten it, right? Which he never did. And, and that's exactly what, by the way, Dave, people are saying now. They say if Israel pulls out of the Philadelphia corridor and then there's one thing smuggled in, we're going to go and flatten them. And we have experience. We know that it's not true. It's BS. It's not true. And, people don't learn from history. They don't see what's going on. And there are a lot of people that in other areas of their life, they're intelligent people, but then they become insane and just more like moronic when it comes to Israel.
How is that people with great intelligence for a lot of things fail to realize history and what it's done? I mean, how do they, they're smarter than you or I in their specific little doctors, for example, psychiatrists and professors, college professors. How is it that they're so smart in their areas, but when they step out of it, they seem to have this arrogance that they know everything?
Right. And, you see it all around the world. I mean, again, I'm listening to Harris, not long ago, talking about how there should be no fracking, and then she turns around and says there should be. Now, why? Like it makes me crazy. Are like people so dumb, like they don't know what she said, and now don't realize that she simply changed her position because she thinks it's going to get her votes? Like how dumb?
Some are dumb, but others are reconsidering. Others are looking at. I mean, they fired a couple of squids from Congress. Yeah. That's a good sign, especially the one.
If someone says that they're against fracking and they turn around and say they're for it, like this to me is someone who's completely dishonest and someone who's just pandering. And when she gets into office, guess what? She's going to ban fracking. And all those people in Pennsylvania who vote for her are going to regret it. And you know what? And then they'll forget by the next election and they'll vote for another Democrat.
Well, that's this. You've just described the Democratic Party.
It's like they have no memory.
They're blaming Trump for inflation. Okay.
12 out of the last 16 years, 12 years were Democratic presidents. And yet those 4 years of Trump is the problem for everything. Are they to me, I just look at it
because he did the right things.
Right? Are people
he did the right things, and he's a business guy. He's not one of them.
I understand, but I'm saying if you want to blame the problems, blame it on the people that were in office for 12 years. Are they so dumb not to be able to see that?
Yeah, some of them are.
I guess
really, they're so dumb that they. I mean, how many of these people know when they say from the river to the sea, know which river and which sea?
They have no idea. People are so blinded, and it's so hard for me to. To understand, like, how in the world could Harris be winning in the polls? I mean, right now she's polling ahead. It's crazy.
So Melbourne, Australia, is that what you lived in Australia? Did you live in Melbourne?
I was there many times, but we lived in Perth on the other side of the country.
So Melbourne, Australia, calls Israel the genocide state during riots there. Is there any blowback to this, or were you when you were there? Was there a lot of anti-Semitism?
No, not at all. Although Australia is not a very diverse country, but I still didn't. I didn't experience. Maybe once someone yelled something, maybe, but I didn't really experience anti-Semitism when I was there. But we know not long ago in Sydney, they called for gassing of Jews in Sydney. Yeah. You know what? I can't say I'm surprised, but it's not a diverse country. When you come to a place, say like New York, where there's such diversity, that surprises me when there's anti-Semitism. People are generally used to living amongst multiculturalism, but in Sydney or Melbourne, it wouldn't surprise me.
In New York, there's a lot. There's millions of Jews there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
That's real disturbing there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you live amongst Black people and Hispanics and Chinese, so people learn to live with each other. But when you're living in a society that's basically just whites, just Christians, of course there is a little bit of diversity, but Australia is not nearly as diverse as, say, the United States. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I never experienced it really.
So Bell Donati, Sky News left Comcast in an interview with Likud lawmakers accused him of ethnic cleansing. So that's in where is that Sky News? Is that in Israel?
Now, Sky News is internationally based. They're all over. If you see them a lot in hotel rooms.
A lot of people are turning on Israel right now.
Yeah,
because
I'm not sure why you think there's more turning on us than there was a month or two ago.
Well, they're coming around. There's a lot of people are. The riots have not gone away. They're not as prevalent as they were, but they're still there. Yeah. And it's all still about Jews.
Right.
It's not like it's an Israel attack. It's an attack on every Jew around the world.
It is amazing to me because people forget so fast. We just had 9/11 this past week.
Right.
9/11 was perpetrated by the same guys, same ideology as Hamas, the jihadis, and they're all over the streets of America protesting, burning American flags. These are the guys. Can you imagine on September 12th, September 13th? Can you imagine a day or two after that 2001 September 12th? Can you imagine these guys taking to the streets? The American population, the Christians, would have killed them, literally killed them. Yet no one seems to remember what happened on 9/11.
Not only that, they're celebrating it.
Yeah.
The
Where are the good Americans
celebrating 9/11?
Where are the good Americans standing up and saying, this is our country, and we're going to let Muslims protest on the streets of Hamas with the same ideology as the Al-Qaeda, the guys who took down it, and we're going to allow this on the college campus?
We're a warrior country is not true lately. I mean, it's just not true. We don't get involved. The left is doing that, but we're not matching them.
Right. America is gonna go down the tubes on this issue, just allowing the jihadis, allowing them to take over. They're going to take over like they did in England. Before you see it, there's going to be marches with 100,000 people there, 200,000 people. They're going to take over.
It's getting very close right now to that.
Right, like France,
we got here. In France, Canada. It used to be a joke that. When Glenn Beck said, the Muslims are trying to take over the world, people laughed at him. They scorned him. And boy, was he right.
If they don't do it now and stand up to these guys, you might as well, don't let the door hit you on the way out, because this country is bye-bye, and we know what happens.
Now, there's talk that the Aliyah, that's a movement from where you're at now to Israel, that 100,000 new Aliyah immigrants are coming in. So is that true?
I didn't hear that. That's a really large number. I know we have an enormous number of applicants for. It's pronounced Aliyah. There's like a lot of applicants. I don't know if people are actually coming in those great numbers.
Well, they've applied then.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a huge spike in applications. 100,000 would be a lot. Wow, that would be great.
Yeah,
didn't hear that. Yeah.
You know, as I mentioned, the IDF destroyed a Iran deep layer facility in Syria. In the boldest operation yet against Iran. Hearing any blowback in that situation? What is the situation right now in general? And then we got to let you go.
Right, Iran is still threatening. And like they have, because of what happened there although we didn't take credit, but the assassination of Hania and what happened with this week in Syria, they're saying that there's going to be some devastating attack, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But bring it on. I think they're afraid. That's the only explanation why they keep.
There's something going on there that they are a little afraid.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what they're afraid of, but they probably know that Israel has some stuff stored up.
I think also it's not going to be like last time when they launched the 300 rockets and we just sort of took the body blows. I think that the second they launch, Israel will launch a massive offensive attack, and they're no match for the Israeli Air Force. And I think we've restored some level of deterrence. So we'll see.
I hope you're right. Any rabbi rants or Ben and Jerry scoops?
I think I just gave my rant already. It's
you're ranting the whole day, which is good.
Yeah.
I feel like you're a psychologist, Rabbi. How do you feel from 1 to 10 about the war?
Well, I'm back in Israel now and traveling and speaking about the war and everything. So it's good to be home. And it's nice. You know what? When I was in the States, I didn't feel any anti-Semitism, I have to say. And I walk around very identifiably as a Jew, and I didn't see anything, didn't feel anything. But
well, you're in a Jewish neighborhood in New Jersey.
Yeah, New York, New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
right. Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And, I live in a small town. I'm about the only Jew here. So, I mean, my family, and that's about it. There's a few, but not many.
There aren't many in Rolla, Missouri.
That's for sure. Yeah. Thanks for pointing out where I live.
Oh, sorry.
Schmuck.
I shouldn't tell them to live on
Main Street. You call a rabbi a schmuck? Is that bad? Is that really a bad word?
Yeah, straight to hell for that. Yeah.
I thought it was really.
Don't pass go, don't collect.
Is there any chance?
In Yiddish, it's not a nice word, but
it's not a nice word, but it's funny though. I mean, I was using it as a joke. God, you got thin skin, Rabbi. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find you and buy your book? For goodness sake!
Well, the book, they can go to secretsofthehebrewbible.org and pick up a copy. And I think you'll enjoy it. If you want to hear about what we're doing, go to israelalliance.org or facebook.com/Israel Alliance. Of course, we'd love to hear from you.
Rabbi, Lisa called me a natural disaster. I responded, I am not. I work very hard at it. She walked out before I said anything.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, how about that? She knows it's going to be about her sometimes. And she's very sensitive, not. Okay. Rabbi, hi to the kids, and thanks for being a star on the Dave Weinbaum Show. Glad you're back in Israel.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye. Shout out Shabbat shalom. Give him a little more applause. All right. So we're back, and I would have you give me your phone calls or anything I can react to. But right now we're going to play. Let's do some funny stuff because we can. Let's do the Kamala one where she's speaking.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now, that should have been one of the judges for the debate.
That's what I was just going to say. If we actually had true moderators, I believe that may have been one of the responses right there.
That's incredible. Well, I'm glad to see the rabbi back. I had trouble getting a hold of him to be on the show. That happens a lot in transit. And he was pretty much on time, which is great. Up next we got Mark and Patricia. McCloskey, and after that we've got Bill Hardwick, and then maybe soon after that, maybe even sooner than you think, we have Don Mayhew. Andrea Schram. This battle involves much more than just Muslims. Our own government is the enemy and is attacking America on so many fronts. It is divide and conquer. You got that absolutely correct, Andrea. Thank you for that. Anybody else? There's Frank Morris. I see him.
Oh, yeah. So if you remember Frank, he was a friend of ours. I'll use quotes.
Okay. 4
on
people
Facebook,
on Rumble and 1 on YouTube. Killing it. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, he's the one that decided to make some very personal, nasty comments, and so we end up having to remove him on Facebook because he was.
Wait!
Very nasty.
Then why is he here?
Because he's going through YouTube now.
Frank Morris finally got a viewers.
Yeah.
A viewers. Okay. All right. Well, we do what we can, and we're all over the world. So you add them all up, and it's reasonable. Thank you for your.
If you can do better, create your own show, and let's see how you do. There you go.
How you do. Yeah, and how much are the Bidens paying? Yeah, who's paying you now? I mean, it's not the Bidens. Is it Kamala? Is it the Democratic Party? I don't care.
My guess is Soros would be my guess.
I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. If you want to listen, fine. If you don't want to listen, don't. Well, why are you listening then if it's so awful? That's what I want to know. What's your point?
And our other liberal friends on Rumble have been strangely quiet for the last month.
Yeah,
MIA.
Great shows. These are great shows. Last week's somehow had a problem with Facebook, and we're hoping it was just an accident, but we'll see. We'll see. We seem to be having a good show today.
Yeah, I have not determined what happened with last week. I'm still curious as to if there's any shenanigans behind the scenes.
Yeah,
but,
and I had trouble finding the show on YouTube, but they do things a different way. Apparently, my son was explaining it, and these shows now they go into that's on Spotify, right? YouTube.
No, YouTube's its own thing. Spotify is one of our podcast locations.
Okay, So you get these shows, and suddenly a show that has 100 may get 300 or 400 after people start really listening to it. And I've on radio, I was killing it. All right, so it's taken time, and we're getting better and better at it. So thanks for your award-winning criticism, and we're working on it. Any suggestions that you want us to do other than get off the air, which ain't going to work because I'm going to stay here till you have to drag me out. I've discovered that in life. I used to give up. I still have doesn't everybody have a tendency to give up when things get bad? Doesn't that, Lisa?
It's human nature.
Yeah, it's human nature.
Definitely.
And usually giving up is the worst thing you can do. It's the worst thing you can do. And I did it as a kid, and I did it a few times, even as an adult. And I get tempted at times. The best thing you can do is to sleep on it. Sleep on it. See what you think about it in the morning. In the morning, you might come up with a solution because your mind is clear. You know, when you get angry and you get frustrated, it's a little bit like it takes something out of you. You don't see a way out, so you want to quit, and because it's painful. But when you get up in the morning, as Andrea Schram says, you want to fight, like what Trump did when he was shot. Fight. I thought he was saying something else, but no, it's something, and it's the right thing to do. So, okay.
And frankly, at this point, we don't have a choice, because if we don't, we're not going to have a country left.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's whatever little facts and opinions and stories I can tell that's going to help this situation and help us save the country. And we're talking about that now. Save the country. I'm going to do it. So, it doesn't bother me. Anyhow,
if I could offer people a public service announcement, I've had this actual conversation with a few different people who tell me, yeah, I don't trust the media anymore and I don't trust my government. I'm like, oh, great. So you're voting for Trump? No. Can't vote for him.
Yeah.
Well, why? Well, because all the nasty stuff. Really? Who told you that? Well, the media. Huh. So the same media that you don't trust, you're buying what they're telling you.
Yeah.
Isn't it time to open your eyes? Is it
so
time
why
to...
would they hate the media if they trust them enough to believe what they're saying about
Bingo.
Trump?
So it's this inherent thing that even though they don't trust it, they still trust their word.
Yeah.
Until you point that out to them. I said, if the media and the government's coming so hard after one man, maybe you need to ask the question, why? And open your eyes up a little bit. They don't really have a response for that one.
No, and they're still going to not vote for Trump based on what they say, because that's stupidity. I don't care if you're the smartest, you got the biggest IQ in the world. If you're saying things like that, you're not smart in certain areas. You might be smart IQ wise, but common sense or knowledge of history. I mean, just look at the past. Look at Russia. Look at all the countries, Venezuela, that turn into these Marxist states. It's a nightmare. Look at Cuba. You really want us to be like that? Right now, people in America are feeling that. They go into stores, and they have been, at least, maybe not recently, but, you couldn't find stuff on the shelves. You couldn't find baby food, for God's sakes. What are you doing?
Nothing.
Are you straightening out my desk? I don't need them straightened out. I need them there where I can find them. Okay.
We had a former guest that used to be on this show quite frequently, and she would always tell us every time she appeared, we're heading toward dictatorship. We're heading toward what I came from.
Yeah.
Don't let it happen.
Yeah.
It was a warning.
All right. Here's a news flash. I look and there's a big feud between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, I believe I discovered her. Okay, back about 7 years ago, I had her on my show, and it was at a radio station. And the reason I got her on the show was because I heard Rush Limbaugh talking about her, and I had looked at her stuff and things like that. I'd never talked to her before, but I called her on the phone. She wasn't even aware that Rush Limbaugh was talking about her. So I got her on my show, and she was a guest for a couple years, and then she flaked off. That's all I can say. She didn't call a couple times and didn't give me a warning. So, I don't care who you are. If you go on the show and miss one, okay, that's fine, because she apologized. But if she did it again, then I don't have time to screw around with it. but she was allegedly on the plane with Trump, giving him a debate advice on the way there and on the way back. I think she's with the Trump campaign. This is kind of interesting because she will say about anything to anybody. Okay.
Maybe that's why she went suddenly cold. Maybe she's working for them and is devoting all of her time and energy to that effort. So,
yeah, but that was a long time ago when she didn't show
about
up.
a year and a half ago, I think.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yep.
She wasn't really that close to him then, but she's close to him now. It's kind of interesting, and she's an interesting person. I think she's a little bit over the top, but okay, fine. She is a conservative, and she's afraid of nobody. Talk about a woman with guts. My God, she walks up to these Antifa people and tears them apart, and she gets congressmen like Maxine Waters, and others. When they see her, they actually run away from her. They hide behind their guards. They hide in the elevators. They don't want anything. They run to their cars. Okay, that's how scared they are of her. And she's a woman. She's a Jewish woman, and I don't understand. I don't understand why they don't just stand there and answer the questions. You know, I mean, they're not hard to answer, but for some reason they are scared to death of her, and she never gets good press. She got kicked off of Twitter. I was there when before her locking herself to the doors of Twitter. I was on the phone with her, and her father was there, and I says, "What are you doing? Are you out of your mind? You'd be stuck on that door, and anybody could walk up and do anything to you." She says, "I know, but I'm doing it." So it's either craziness or that's what she's doing. But if everybody protested like that, the left would be a little scared and they'd take notice because that's the kind of stuff they do. All right. And we don't seem to respond. We're in a street fight and we're not fighting back. So I understand her from that point of view. All right. So anybody? Well, let's play. We haven't done any. Let's play a couple of these clips, and then we'll do a couple of funny things. Let's do 4 and 5.
What we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Okay, we're done with that. So what they do is they set up the lies. They know what he's going to say. So he says it, and before he says it, she says, "You're going to hear a bunch of lies." Okay, and then they lie about the lie. They're lying about the lies. It's their lie. Him doing 2025 is not his, and it's been debunked. Where was ABC? Where was the fact checking? There were what? Crickets. I want crickets. Exactly what it was. Exactly what it was. And you know, it's so they set up the lies that they're going to tell, and accuse the person they're going to tell that to, that they're going to lie about it and say it's not true. That's Marxism right there. Kathy Sanford Dillon, Trump is for freedom and what America stands for, not for one world order. You got it. Yes. Andrea Schram, there are so many strong Christian ministries who offer encouragement and hope. Apostle Dutch Sheets, give him 15 daily broadcasts, and Victory Channel Flashpoint Army. Apostle Tim Sheets, Oasis Church, Middletown, Ohio. Clay Nash Ministries at the Ark in northern Arkansas. There are a lot of ministers who are aware, and obviously the official pastor to this show, Pastor Pat, who happens to be the official mother to J.J. Maxwell, sitting right across from me. J.P. Maxwell, sorry. He'll answer to J.J. Oh, sorry. That's right.
No, it's not.
There's J.J. Weinbaum over there. J.J. Weinbaum. Yeah, you're the law. The law. So oh no, oh no, that shouldn't have happened, right? Oh, that hurt. No, nobody said you could do that, and you're laughing about it too. All right, well then you got to play. You got to play the. You got to play the other one. You know, I got a new car, and there was a problem with it, so we got to play that one now too. See? Ooh, that tickles. Stop it! No. All right, let's do basketball. I lost my nuts.
I just
Damn. We gotta go straight to the basketball now. I think my nuts just dropped off. Oh man, that hurt. See what you made me do? You made me do that.
No, I didn't.
Sure, it
That's
led.
Just another one.
That was almost like you were setting me up.
No.
Thank you, honey. That was very sweet of you. Okay, so yeah, and we'll get into more of the clips, but we haven't done any funny stuff yet. Oh, that was pretty funny though, wasn't it?
No.
Sure it was. Okay, let's see. Oh, you remember Nancy at she was at the convention for the Democrats, and she had some toilet paper falling off. Somebody thought it was her speech or something like that, but no, it ends up it was toilet paper. And she was looking around, looking at her shoe and all that stuff. Apparently, it was stuck to her shoe. So we have that. Well, you want to do that one first, and then do Seinfeld toilet paper. All right.
Oh, actually, I'll do Seinfeld real quick.
Yes,
I think that's a perfect tie-in for that.
Yeah,
so
let's do that.
We don't want to miss that opportunity for sure.
Let's do that. You had it.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. This is kind of embarrassing, but there's no toilet paper over here. Are you talking to me? Yeah, I just forgot to check. So if you could spare some. No, I'm sorry. What? No, I'm sorry, I can't spare it. You can't spare it? No, there's not enough to spare. Well, I don't need much. Just 3 squares will do it. I'm sorry, I don't have 3 squares. Now, if you don't mind. 3 squares? You can't spare 3 squares? No, I don't have a square to spare. I can't spare a square. Well, is it 2 ply? Because if it's 2 ply, I'll take 1 ply. 1 ply. 1 puny little ply. I'll take 1 measly ply. Look, I don't have a square and I don't have a ply. No, I beg you.
1 ply.
Here comes the next one. Yeah, he's going to get this on the screen so you can see what's happening. This is really interesting and funny. Not funny, but sad, but still pretty interesting.
With 2,000 beds, right? Okay. We want to know out of the 31 days this month times 2,000 beds, that's 60,000 times that these beds could have been rented. How many times were they rented? We were at 89%. Can we get it to 92%? We need people staying in our hotel to make money. The business model of a hotel isn't to have only 10% of the rooms being used. So what's the business model of hospitals?
I must be totally different, right?
Right. So we need those beds to be filled. And by the way, do you know what's the number one industry of the most money they did last year? Energy, oil. You know, that's only $500 billion. You know what's number one? Hospitals. Yeah. $1.5 trillion. Hospital models, I need sick people. Big pharma models, I need new diagnosis. A contractors model, military contractor, I need war. Mainstream media, what do I need? Controversy, conflict, chaos. When you actually look at the business model of what these guys are doing, they need chaos and problems to keep making money. Just say you want.
All right. Well, that's really that I didn't know that. Did you know that hospitals are when compared to hotels, even the best of them, hotel doing 90% is doing really good, by the way. Occupancy, you kidding me? And that's an excellent thing. And of course, the prices vary depending on how busy they are. But these hospitals are based on the same theory. You got to fill the beds. So if you fill the beds, what do you got to do? Sometimes you got to, give the doctors a few bucks and do some sneaky stuff with them. Maybe there's a pandemic out and you need those beds filled. Well, maybe the doctor will send over people that might not need hospitalization, but they fill the beds and everybody makes money. The pharmaceutical companies make money, the doctors make money, and the hospitals make money. And who loses out? You and me. We didn't fall for that. Me and my wife, Lisa over here, did not fall for that. And we got a lecture after we got sick from the doctor who told me he was a close friend of Fauci, of all things, and a big admirer. I mean, but and I know who Fauci is, and I know I was able to do a lot of research on people suddenly dying in that. But we refused to take the shot. We already had it. I said, "Don't we have antibodies?" He says, "Well, I'm not sure about that." Well, why wouldn't you be sure about that? Why would you not be sure about that? Number one. And number two, did you read the Vayers report? He says, "I don't know what that is. I only read the New England Journal of Medicine." And so I after the call, I looked up the New England Journal of Medicine on a search, and then I added the Vayers report. And sure enough, it was in the New England Journal of Medicine. And when I told him that, later on, he got back with me and says, "Well, I guess I missed that." I says, "You know what? You're fired. How dare you? How dare you tell us that we need to take these prescriptions from you that's going to kill us possibly? How dare you? How many people have you done that to that are already dead?" I didn't exactly say that, but I wanted to say that. And I think he's responsible for a lot of deaths, as a lot of doctors are. Go to find out that I talk to doctors around here left and right. I'm not sure that they know about it either. Do they know what it is? Do they know what ivermectin does? Okay. And we can play ivermectin right here, right now.
Oh, Lord.
Your wife is very excited about
I know, I can tell. Ivermectin, I take it by the pill. Ivermectin, the pandemic it will chill. Ivermectin, I let it take its course. Ivermectin, now I'm neighing like a horse.
Your home is your castle, you don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments, that's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Raleigh, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333.
Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
With warmer temperatures right around the corner and allergies ramping up, now's the time to get those AC units serviced. At Hartley's, we pride ourselves in offering outstanding service with fast response times. With proper maintenance, you can make those hot days be a lot cooler and remove those pesky allergens that always seem to find their way into your home. Call us today so you can be living a much cooler and healthier life. Hartley's, community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy, but also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender, all one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Busy schedule? Let your locally owned Price Chopper help you save time with online shopping. It's easy. Sign up to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app in the App Store or Google Play. Create an account and browse through the categories and choose the items you need. When you place your order, your personal shopper will get all of the items you've selected, taking the same care you would and following your notes. We offer free curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Start your online order today and no online shopping fee for a limited time. Go to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app to get started. Price Chopper. Fresher savings every day. A-Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the number one sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
Gotta reach 'em, see it right now.
Insurance going up like crazy? Daniel and Henry Insurance is one of the largest private insurance companies in the world. Richard Boyette, 314-444-5011. He's my guy at Daniel and Henry for 10 years. Business or personal, call Richard at 314-444-5011. He's the best.
Maybe it's for a kitchen you've always wanted.
Maybe it's just to have a little extra room. Whatever the reason you're considering a new home loan, it's good to know that Town & Country Bank will guide you in the right direction. Our experienced local lenders are here to help you with a new home construction, remodeling projects, and fixed and adjustable rate home loans. You can even start the process online by clicking Online Mortgage Center at tcbanks.com. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right, we're back. Welcome back to the Dave Weinbaum Show. Coming up, we got Mark and Patricia McCloskey, two of the bravest people I know. Following them, we've got Mayhew, and then Bill Hardwick, and might be a little surprise there for us. Got a lot of talent coming up now. These there's one of them right there. And so we're going to go there, but we got a lot of brilliance. Although in his case right now, as I can see, his wife is not there, and so it's going to be not quite as brilliant, but it's going to be pretty brilliant. So let's talk about who this is. This gentleman was out there barbecuing with his wife a couple years ago up near Forest Park. And all of a sudden, they heard this ruckus out front, and there were people walking all over their lawn and shouting threats to them that they were going to rape the wife and kill both of them, and then take over their houses. So I've got a caller that wants me to talk. It's a spam call, but what are you going to do? It must be a lawyer. He's jealous of the one I've got there. Anyways, so Cori Bush was leading this. Cori Bush was a congresswoman in that district, and she no longer is. She's been retired by the voters. But she was there with the BLM and Antifa, and they were defending their homes, one with a long rifle, the other with a pistol. Please welcome, all the way from St. Louis, I believe, Mark McCloskey. There we go. All right, so how are you today, sir?
Pretty good. I don't get my intro music today.
You don't get your what?
My intro music?
You know, I got my show on YouTube now.
Oh.
And so in order, I've had problems with that, and they're very strict about using music that is not necessarily kosher on a podcast unless you have specific approval, and it's hard to know which songs are correct to put on or not.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know.
And you need. I've already had one guy threaten me with a lawsuit out of Denver.
No, I thought that was me.
Now, was that you? So you're in this game too, aren't you? And now you want me? Well, that's a very interesting thing what you just said, because you've just implicated yourself, sir. Because you're telling me I should be playing your music. It's not your music, is it? You don't own the music, but you might know who has the copyright for it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're trying to get me to play that music. That's a very interesting thing that you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, well, where's your wife? What's she doing? She working or something?
This is a kind of an inconvenient time because it's like working hours, and we still have a job, and we have to do things like practice law.
Okay. When are you gonna figure it out and stop practicing and actually accomplish something with it, though?
Well, if juries would help me out with big enough verdicts, I would have stopped practicing a long time ago.
Wait, and that reverse of that is if you could convince the jury of getting a better settlement or conviction for your client, that would work out for you too, wouldn't it?
There you go. So in other words, you're just acknowledging that I'm a loser, and here I am.
No, I'm not. I'm not acknowledging that. I didn't say that. That's not evidence, sir. Where do you find that in evidence? No, I'm just saying if you could convince them a little bit more, I'm encouraging you to be able to to be able to be a rich guy. You know, you're already a rich guy, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, government funding bills. Republicans won't bring it up. They won't do the funding of the government if the Democrats don't vote in the voting restriction for illegal aliens. So I think that's a pretty good move, don't you?
Oh yeah, you know, I've been talking right after the last election cycle. I talked to Eric Burleson, you know, our freshman congressman from Western Missouri, and I spoke to Jason Smith about this and everybody else. They hold the purse strings, particularly Jason. Right, he's chairman of Ways and Means now.
Yeah, I know.
And the government cannot function unless the House of Representatives approves the money. They've got an absolute stranglehold on the government, and no Congress has had the guts right up till now. Just pull the plug on it and say no more money until you behave. I'd say no more money until you close the border. Absolutely, you pass a bill not allowing any illegal aliens to vote, and a variety of other things, including all this unsolicited mail-in ballots. Shut all that down, or you don't get one more penny.
Now, in the debate, our good friend Kamala, she sort of tore into Trump because they had a bill. They had a bill ready to go to shut down what she should have shut down anyways, the border. But it wasn't a bill to shut down the border. It was a bill that would include 5,000 people every month or every week. I don't know what it was, but more illegal aliens.
Yeah.
And that means you would have signed off on it.
Yeah, it's like saying we're going to make a new bill to make robbing 7-Eleven stores illegal, but only if 5,001 people rob 7-Elevens a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good analogy, sir, Mr. Legal Man.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And the new border security agents weren't there to keep people out. They were there to facilitate processing more people in under that bill. And I wish President Trump had mentioned some of these things, but I mean that particular bill. And by the way, just to digress, since Senora Harris now believes that they've got the border closed due to their executive order, if they could have done it by executive order, as you mentioned just a minute ago, they could have done it 3.5 years ago. But 3.5 years ago, we had a closed border because of President Trump, and they opened it up. And then they say, "Oh, we can't close it until those evil Republicans vote our way."
Yeah, but then again, they could do it right now.
Yeah, of course they could.
They could do it any second. They can shut it down.
Yeah. I talked to Tom Homan,
right. I know
former acting director of border security, and we were up at the convention, and I was saying, "How long is it going to take to absolutely close the border after Trump gets reelected?" He says, "The president asked me to do it in 60 days. I said, I can't do it in 60 days. It'll take 90. But 90 days, we'll have an absolutely secure border."
Well, how long is it going to be to remove the illegal aliens that are already here?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. The bottom line is they're going to start with the people that are wanted criminals and then work upstream from there. But here's my thought, right? They're talking about putting them in jet airplanes and flying them back to their home country. Airplanes cost money and they don't have very many seats. You watch how they get here. They're in boxcars, crammed in as many human beings as possible.
Back the same way, right?
Sitting on the roof, right? Send them back the same way. If it's good enough to get here, it's good enough to go home.
Oh yeah, you going AOC is going to be so mad at you. Oh my God! So do you like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House? What do you think?
He could be stronger.
Okay, but he's doing this right now.
Yeah, he is doing this right now.
It seems like he's a little stronger than the last guy.
Yeah, last guy. Yeah. No, I like Mike Johnson. I've got a lot of friends out in Shreveport, Louisiana, where he's from, and everybody that I talked to said he's a real stand-up guy. So I was pleased with his election.
Yeah. Well, how many rhinos do we got? She pointed out the 200 rhinos were involved in now, actually picking her as their favorite over Trump. 200 rhinos? Is that we have many in government, or is they just all over the place?
They're all over the place. I mean, I was talking to one of the congressmen a little bit ago, and from Missouri, and I was saying, what's it like being a Congress, United States House of Representatives as opposed to the Missouri Senate? So it's just remarkably frustrating. Out of 435 people in the House of Representatives, there's maybe 25 that are real constitutional conservatives.
Yeah.
The rest of them are working against us.
Yeah, and they're working for what? What are they doing? Why are they doing that? Why are they? They're all saying the right things to get in office, and then they turn their backs on us.
Well, I give you
I'm talking about the Republicans.
Yeah. Well, I give you an example of why people say what they say to do to get elected. There's this guy from Arkansas that used to fly around in the airplane that the firm that I used to work with owned. He never made more than $30,000 a year in his life until he got elected president of the United States. Now he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. How does that happen in an honest world? Whoever gets elected, except for Donald Trump, to office and leaves poorer than they got there. So Congressman makes $174,000 a year, and yet they're always out there in Martha's Vineyard, sipping wine and hobnobbing with the fat cats. You can't do that on $174,000 a year.
How ironic is it that a multi-billionaire comes in and is against all that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so ironic, isn't it?
And won't take his salary. By the way, he refused to get paid as president for the first time in the history of the United States. And everybody says he's just in it for him, right? That's what the left says.
Well, he's in it for his quote unquote all his rich billionaire friends.
Yeah,
you see,
who all hate him and have endorsed Kamala Harris.
yeah. Why are they not going along with Trump? Why is he so hated? Is it jealousy?
Well, I think the answer is, as I say on a regular basis, there's only one unforgivable crime in America today, and that's standing up against the left. The left, the power structure, the deep state, the real money will only put in place people they can control. And nothing frightens them more than people they can't control.
Yeah, and that's one Donald J. Trump.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
That's why you got to like him. I mean, he's for America. He's America first.
And another reason, no matter how much I liked him in the past, when he caught a bullet, you really can tell a man's character when he's under fire, and I mean literally under fire. Now.
Literally under fire.
Yeah, and he, instead of cowering and letting the not Secret Service or Homeland Security people that they got their 2-hour Zoom call, instead of letting them just pile on top and drag him away like a sack of potatoes, he stands up, not knowing whether or not he's going to catch another bullet, pushes his fist in the air, and says, "Fight, fight, fight." What a guy! How many people are going to do that?
Yeah, and we got one coming up next. Bill Hardwick led a platoon in Iraq, and he is the guy that he got injured too, but it wasn't serious enough. He didn't think of it as something that he needed a medal for or anything like that. But still, took that risk every day for a long time.
Yeah. So Patty and I were going down to Texas to do a presentation last week. Didn't know in Oklahoma this week, but we're sitting in the departure lounge, actually at a bar at Lambert Field, and there's a guy on the telephone across the hall or at the vending machine. I said to Patty, I'll bet that guy's a friend of ours just from the look of him, from his tattoos and from his T-shirt. So when he comes back over, I tap him on the shoulder and I say, "Hi, you look like somebody that I'd like to know." And we got talking. He was SEAL Team 2, right? You can just from across the hall, and so they're real guys out there. They're real tough guys like Mr. Hardwick and
Well, I tried to get the guy that killed Bin Laden on my show. He couldn't do it. He was with Fox back then.
Yeah.
The redheaded guy.
Yeah.
He was a neat guy. But that's incredible. Hey, Nadler, Representative Nadler from New York, falls asleep during a hearing of parents' testimony over raping American children by the illegal aliens. And another Dem was out there playing with his phone.
Yeah.
Okay, that was I think it was what's his name? Schiff. I think it was Schiff was playing with his phone. Yeah.
But then we got John Kirby, right? You got John Kirby on a hot mic saying, "Hey, we don't have to respond to those vets over Afghanistan. They don't mean anything."
Yeah, what is that? I mean, it goes so much against what we're supposed to be as a country.
Yeah.
And then we're not.
I'll tell you a story about Jerry Nadler. Okay.
Yeah,
Back
please.
in ye olde days during the Clinton administration, there was this communist organization run by a Susan Rosenberg, who was her claim to fame was she was the first lesbian-run communist organization in the United States. They organized a bombing of the Senate building. They organized the takeover of a Brinks truck where they killed 3 people. When she finally gets arrested, she's got like 400 pounds of dynamite in her van, a lot of machine guns. She gets arrested along with her cohorts. They get sentenced to a long prison sentence. On the last day of Bill Clinton's administration, he pardons all these people at the request of, guess who? Jerry Nadler.
Really?
Yeah. And yes, you know what she does for a living now? She's the chairman of something called 1,000 Currents, which is a funding arm of BLM.
Well, that's a shocker right there.
That's Jerry Nadler. Jerry Nadler is a communist. He hates this country. He wants to pursue that. You know,
I've had Dick Morris on my show. They used to be buddies.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Do you know anything about Dick Morris?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I can't imagine. Yeah. Well, and of course, Jerry Nadler used to be this big fat troll. Now he's a little skinny troll. And maybe when he lost all that fat, maybe a lot of that fat was between his ears.
There was a picture back around the mid 2014, 2015, around there, of Nadler and Nancy Pelosi and a few other people, and they were with the heads of the cartels at that time. And I believe there was a deal struck between them, and I think that's pretty obvious right now that happened.
Yeah.
It didn't happen overnight. It happened about a decade ago.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, because Patty and I have been down there and watched it. You go down the Rio Grande where they start doing this midnight exchange. We get there. We've got some friends that know where to go and when to be there. Our government has the buses lined up and waiting. They know how many people they're going to get. And they know where they're going to take them. We get on the Rio Grande. There's a sandbag bunker, a foxhole set up with a guardsman in it. He's got a signal lamp. He signals over the cartels on the other side of the river. On his signal, they start putting people in the Zodiacs, the rubber rafts, and bringing them across the river, stack them up on the American side in front of Customs and Border Patrol. When they get about 100 lined up, they have them follow the pickup truck, literally open the gate to America, have them line up in columns and rows, give them their new IDs, give them their cell phones, give them their debit cards. We asked a 9-year-old girl from Guatemala where she was going in the United States. She just got off a rubber raft. She says New Haven, Connecticut.
Wow.
I don't think she's going to Yale, right? She already had an assignment in this country. The only way that can happen is if our government is actively in communication with and coordination with the cartel.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And then I thought it was peculiar back then, but nobody seemed to care about it.
Yeah.
So I have a question about Nadler going back to him being asleep. Would Nadler fall asleep if it was about indicting President Trump? Really?
Yeah, he'd be bouncing up and down and waving his flag.
Yeah, he'd be doing a dance up there, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
So China now take over border police headquarters, farmland being bought, real estate and buildings, stealing secrets from our military. Are Democrats complicit in all of this? And now we got Hochul, and then before that, Feinstein and Schiff and Swalwell, who all had spies working for them, Chinese spies.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on that?
Well, all Chinese citizens are required by law to be spies. That the law in China is that if requested to give up information by their security forces, you go to prison for the rest of your life if you don't cooperate. And so every Chinese citizen in this country is a de facto spy. But the ones at high level, like Kathy Hochul, I mean, really, here you got high level communist spies. But here's the thing, they are communists. Look at Tampon Tim, right? He's taken 30 trips to China. He had his honeymoon in China. He praises the Chinese form of government, and now he's running for vice president of the United States of America.
Well, he's a perfect match for Kamala.
If we elect those people, I say this every day. If the American people elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as president and vice president, we get what we deserve, because that'll be the end of any semblance of a free republic.
Well, somehow we got to figure this out, and we got to fight back. We got to find a way to fight back, and sometimes you got to fight back as dirty as the guys that are fighting against you, who are fighting much dirtier.
You got to use every dirty trick they use against us, because they use our goodwill and our law-abiding nature as weapons against us.
And remember, without Donald Trump, this would have been 10 years ago that this is happening.
Absolutely.
Under Hillary, come on.
Yeah, you imagine what would happen if we had what's his name, the former governor of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney, as president.
Oh, God.
I mean, he's already endorsed Kamala Harris as of 3 days ago, along with his idiot daughter.
And how about the Cheneys? Aren't they a couple of nice people?
My favorite quote from Dick Cheney back when he was vice moron was that democracy isn't a process, it's an outcome. Meaning we only will call it democracy if the people we like win.
Yeah. And they're using democracy as a word to defend the fraud of 1/6.
Yeah.
The total fraud of that, and all these people are still out there arresting people. If you were in DC on that day.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
This is the way I always phrase it, right? Think about when we woke up a couple of months ago on the morning of Saturday, July 13th. What the deep state expected, what they anticipated, because they control every end of this, is that by the time that weekend was over, they would have killed Donald Trump. They would have staged their coup against Joe Biden. They would have been installed as the only living presidential candidate, a woman who did not receive a single vote. And then they will do that in order to, quote, preserve our democracy. Kill one president, coup another, install somebody who never got a single vote, and then call that democracy. There used to be this thing called East Germany, the Deutsches Demokratisches Republik, headed by a guy named Erich Honecker. When you want to find true democracy, go look there, and you'll see what true democracy looks like if these people win.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand it. I don't understand why we don't have more American. And you're talking about it's money, and I guess I understand that. It's wrong, but it's you shouldn't go to Congress to make money in these terms. That was the original thought was, you come and you serve a couple years, and you'll make some money, but it's not a form of having a profession.
No,
a congressman as a senator, and these people have turned this into a money making deal, and they can't lose.
So I'm out giving a speech someplace, and somebody was commenting on a new young Republican politician, and they said the quote was she should look to politics for her career. But the concept of a career politician just should not exist. I mean, if your goal is to make a career out of trying to spend every day of your life trying to find a way to make other people's lives more difficult, to pass legislation, and what do? They measure their accomplishments and how much legislation they get passed, meaning how many new ways they can make our life difficult, not in ways that they can free us more or give us more freedom or remove legislation, but how many new laws they can impose upon us.
Okay, I saw a flash before my eyes. At this age, you when you see a flash before your eyes, you begin to wonder.
Do you smell burnt onions or burnt paper?
Let me play you some debate clips and get your comments on those. Let's do the next two.
I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences. Like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
The vice president brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And if I'd been the president, my response would have been, you don't have to guess whether or not my plan works. We had 4 years of my plan that worked great. We had the lowest unemployment in every demographic. We had the highest economy in the history of the United States. And by the way, price of oil, holy crap. We had energy independence. We were exporting oil instead of begging, the king of Saudi Arabia and the dictator of Venezuela to sell us oil.
But they're lying about everything. And so, and when you have the people who are running the interview going along with the liars, it's a tough thing. And I think Trump is right not to go back and debate anymore. I think it's right. I think he does better off just going out and going to different places, giving journalists answering their questions, press conferences, and rallies, and town whatever they are, town country things.
Yeah,
town halls.
Yeah.
So
here's the problem, Dave.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody watching this program to spend a couple of days watching mainstream media. It is just open, unabashed propaganda. On the morning after the debate, in order to bolster the left's position on abortion, for example, they were interviewing one of the few, they claim, doctors in the country that does abortions up to the time of birth and glorifying it. And what a wonderful guy is offering this service to women in need. And then they said, it doesn't happen very often, so you don't have to be afraid that we have abortion up to the time of birth. And then the last thing they said is, doctor, how often do you get contacted about doing one of these procedures? He says, every day, right?
Every day. Yeah. Every day. And it is a law, I believe, in California that you could kill the baby after birth for 27, 28 days. This is murder.
Of course,
how can you murder a little baby like that?
And how can you be happy? How can you sell that as a good thing? And yet but if you watch mainstream media, you will wonder how Trump can even get half the vote when every single media outlet there says he's a devil incarnate, that he needs to be destroyed at all costs, that he will end democracy, that there will never be another election in the United States. You get every single media outlet in the mainstream saying that thing 24/7. You got to admire the resilience of the American people that they can withstand all of that and it still be a close race.
Sure. Now I've got, I wanted to get this one thing in there. Guess who was accused of flying with Trump to the debates? And it was by Marjorie. What's her name?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. Guess who was flying with Donald Trump, giving him advice?
Laura Loomer.
You got it. You know her?
She is a real danger. Why anybody allows her to talk to the president, I do not know.
Well, the president, she is very risky. I think I kind of discovered her.
Well,
because she was on the Rush Limbaugh talked about her.
Yeah.
And when she chased not Nancy, but Maxine Waters into an elevator, and I had her on my show, and then she didn't show up for a couple of appointments there, and dropped her, and she's now in the plane with Trump telling him what to do, and he's listening. Come on.
And she's one of these people that's just a click whore, right? If she gets views on the internet, she thinks that's the same thing as being wonderful. And so the more outrageous you are, the more views you get on the internet, and that's all it is. And she is, and that President Trump would listen to her for a second is kind of frightening to me. Because she is a lunatic, and she's only saying these things because they are confrontational. What did she say yesterday? That if Kamala Harris gets elected to the White House is going to smell like curry.
Yeah.
And it's be like a 7-Eleven or something. I mean, put this woman in the trash can, put tape over her mouth for the next 53 days, and get her away from the damn president.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I wondered about that too. I mean, that's kind of racist, isn't it?
Kind of racist.
Kind of racist, yeah.
I mean, we've got a vice president.
If they said, if you put Weinbaum in office and there's chicken noodle soup and stuff like that, and whiskey and vodka, okay.
The whole White House would smell like schmaltz, right?
Yeah, with lox. I mean, you have lox and bagels.
Sure.
It would have smelled like if an Irishman like you were in there.
Oh yeah. Well, when Kennedy was president, of course, the whole White House smelled like corned beef and cabbage.
There you go. Okay, so in that respect, it's not that.
Wait, here's the thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Our vice presidential candidate's wife is a Hindu, and yet you got Laura Loomer telling the president he should be racist against Indians.
Yeah. Well.
Crazy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. My next guest is here. I've got this guest here who has brought us something. Oh my goodness. His name is Don Mayhew. I've got on here, Mark McCloskey. And look at this. He brought us eggs. I think it's a bribe. I'm not sure.
I think about a year ago I was on the show and Don says his eggs cost him about $12 a dozen now. I now raise chickens and have eggs too. I don't think it's that much.
A couple of egg mongers on the show at the same time. Okay, you want to talk egg about this is incredible. All right. So if you want to stay and we can talk.
Unfortunately, this morning, Dave, I've got to get to the office, and so I only could be here for half an hour. As much as I love to stick around.
All right, that's fine. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find you?
Okay, my law firm is McCloskeyLaw.com. Unlike what Google will say, I'm still actively practicing law and have never stopped. You can catch my radio program at 101.9 on Sunday afternoons from 5 to 6. That's Mark McCloskey on Fire. You can also catch me on X and on Rumble on the same name, Mark McCloskey on Fire. And we're on a radio in Kansas City and Pete Mundo's station, and here in St. Louis on News Talk STL. And we always have interesting guests and interesting topics. I think we've got Kamala Harris on this week. No, maybe not.
Well, you better not, because you're going to be the AG of America. You're going to be the head of the DOJ, aren't you?
If that happened, this would be a new world the next day.
I know. It would be a better world. By the way, did you know why Jack Nicklaus retired from golf?
No.
He had too many mood swings. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark McCloskey, hi to your lovely bride, Pat. And you have a great weekend. Have a great shows this coming weekend.
You too. You guys take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Okay. My next guest is here. He's a little ornery, I tell you what, but he brought some eggs or something, right?
Some of them are huge.
Really?
The eggs, some of them are really big.
Did you give them? Did you shoot them with an antibiotic or something to get them bigger? He's not even listening.
I'm sorry.
No,
I thought you were going to tell another
joke. You take care of your
joke.
business. I'll just sit here and talk to myself. I'll talk to JP. I'll talk to my wife. I'll talk to the people out there. Anytime you're ready to speak. That's
but you're known for that.
What do you mean I'm known for what?
Most people, whenever they're talking to themselves, we usually assume that they're praying. But in your case, you start answering yourself. And so we're not sure exactly
I have
what
been
that
known
means.
to do that. Yes.
So, yeah.
I've been known to answer myself and say the words like, Moi? Which you apparently don't understand.
No, that's isn't that Chinese?
No, it's Croc-Corian.
Croc-Corian.
You're full of croc too. Anyways, this man is a civil engineer. It's hard to believe. It's sort of like an oxymoron right there.
That means I got
civil
to be nice
engineer.
to everybody.
Missouri State Rep. He's the biggest chicken monger in Crocker, Missouri. Please welcome our Kentucky Fried guest, Don Mayhew. Now, did you ever get introduced as that? Your Kentucky Fried guest?
So, yeah, once again, you left out my walk-up music, man. I'm so
I can't do it now because I'm on YouTube, and you can't. I don't know which songs they'll allow, and they're real strict about it. All right, even the songs that they will say is okay for YouTube. Can get you in trouble.
I know.
So what do you apologize? No, you don't apologize. You just
just
want
for
to
everybody's
insult me.
For everybody's information, my walk-up song is "Time" by Pink Floyd. So please play that in the background.
I'm sure if you sing it, nobody will recognize it.
I could probably
go ahead and sing
it. Well, no, I can't without music. I mean, I have hard enough time staying on key even.
All right,
with
something
music.
Is there? Is that my phone?
Well, that's not me.
All right,
that's you.
You keep getting spam risk.
Yeah, so it's the IRS again. Did you want to talk to them?
No, I don't want to talk to those guys. Jeez, you crazy? There's 88,000 of those guys, new of them, because the Republicans.
Yeah.
And what are you now? You're a Republican still, right?
Well, I run as a Republican.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
You got something against that?
Well, to a certain extent, yeah. Why the hell is my highway still a mess? Yes.
You need to call the governor and ask him why. So.
I'm talking to my what did you do?
I got it in the
representative.
I got it in the budget. I did my part.
You're a representative. You're my representative.
I know, but
the governor's not in here right now. So
that's it. I just happened to be the whipping boy for the governor today.
That's it.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime. Do you ever talk to him about it?
So what? Define talk.
Call him up on the phone and say, "Hey, Governor, we got a problem with this highway."
Do you happen to have his number? Because I don't have his number.
Why not? Isn't he a Republican too?
Well, I'm a state representative. I'm not senator yet, and
so you're not allowed to talk to the governor.
So there's a hierarchy, right? No, I'm allowed to. It's whether or not he wants to talk to me.
Have you tried?
On numerous occasions. Yeah. Well. Hey, I get to talk to his people, so that's the same thing, ain't it?
A little tepid. So, advice to Trump: show up. Here's the advice that somebody on Fox did. I think he's on the Sunday show. Advice to Trump: show up on college football stadium and register 18 to 22-year-old males and register them there. And maybe even get a voting booth in there or something if they can do it, because the problem with 22-year-old to 25-year-old males is they don't vote, and you're going to have a lot of women voting, and they're going to be voting against him because they believe Kamala. So go ahead and answer that one.
No, I'm searching for the question, but I guess you'll.
Is that a good idea? To open up these stadiums and get these male guys there to do a rally and sign them up and make sure they can vote and maybe even make it a voting place.
Are we talking the temporarily maybe someday will become citizens, or are we talking about actual citizens?
We're talking about actual citizens.
Oh, actual citizens.
Yes.
What?
Not illegals. They got to
have a football game and then put in a voter registration table.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was a brilliant idea. Sometimes you have a brilliant idea, and somebody with maybe an engineering degree can dice it around and fix it to where it works. What do you do?
Well, I can improve the flow through the system.
Okay.
But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I mean, That is
well, you can give them the opportunity, right? You lead them to the water, lead them to
can,
the voting booths,
or you can bring in an illegal alien and go ahead and vote for them. That way, they don't have to, right? So,
oh God, I'm not getting anywhere right now.
What's your destination? Maybe that would help.
My destination is to get these young people focused on voting.
You mean
these young legal Americans who have IDs?
No, that's a problem. It's a huge problem, and they're the ones that are affected the most. I mean, all of this crazy dump money into the system and drive up inflation.
Yeah.
Guess who gets to pay for that? You and I are going to be out of it one way or the other before the chickens come home to roost to, try to keep the chicken theme going there.
Yeah. I like that.
And, but the reality is 36 trillion. Yes, it's trillion, not billion, 36 trillion. Not that most people even know the difference between a billion and a trillion, but 36 trillion in debt. And we pay $1 trillion in interest every year on our debt.
Yeah.
And that just keeps adding to it. So who gets to pay for that? Well, it's not you and me. It's the future generations. Our great grandkids will still be paying on this $36 trillion in debt. And every time the interest rate goes up, well, then the amount of money that we owe goes up. And so, how
does this relate to voting?
Because if you're going to vote for anything, you ought to vote for your pocketbook, right?
Yeah.
And those kids, your 22-year-olds who freshly graduated from college or perhaps been working in their profession for a few years since high school, they've been around long enough to recognize on their paycheck how much of their money disappears, and that all the things they could have done with that money instead. And especially the longer you go, you realize that you probably ought to be saving for retirement because Social Security ain't going to make it, right? And so those folks particularly should be interested in that, and they're not. Let's face it. If they do have an issue with the government, it's usually related to their own personal consumption of whatever, entertainment, food, drink, whatever, right? So a lot of them are concerned about, making drugs legal. And I guarantee you, whenever they have kids of their own, they will regret some of those kind of decisions for sure. Especially, on the legalization of drugs, that when an associated enforcement of protections against the rest of us out there, look how much time, effort, money we spent on drunk driving over the years, and we finally turned that around and had the trajectory going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then we did something pretty stupid here in Missouri. We legalized marijuana. Now, a lot of those folks in that category say, well, there ain't no difference between alcohol and marijuana. Perhaps there's not. But do we really need another intoxicant out there? As Colorado experienced, is right at legalization. Shortly thereafter, there was a huge uptick in driving under the influence that occurred. And fatalities, a 300% increase and that was after they had a downward trajectory, just like the rest of the states in the Midwest, on driving under the influence. And so those are the kinds of things that we see happen. While that is instant gratification, I think we've trained that generation to expect instant gratification. Why is Amazon so popular? Well, it's because of that instant gratification kind of a thing. And so we don't pay a whole lot of attention. And the younger, and the farther you go down in that age category.
What are you saying? Give up on them?
So they don't get any instant gratification off of voting for or against.
You keep trying until you win somehow, and you keep throwing stuff at them until you win. I tell you what, Bill Hardwick walked in, and we're going to have a little duo.
Right, because, we get tag team you now.
Yeah. Because well, tag team you. Are you saying that we're both against you?
No, we.
You're
are members of the state legislature.
moi.
Exactly.
So because you're the government,
because
and
you-
I'm a citizen, I'm a poor citizen here.
Yeah.
They're gonna squeeze me.
Yeah.
All right. Come on, man.
So you of course, I paid for all the softballs you're going to give me today. So
softballs.
Yeah, I get 12 softballs today.
No. You still haven't explained to me how we're going to get Trump elected because he's for a lot of the things that you say.
No, he's
not?
He's for the states getting their power back. Right?
Yeah.
That was the original intent of the Constitution, that we
Part
would
of
have
it, yeah.
we would have a United States,
Right.
right? Not a huge federal out of control government bureaucracy.
Isn't that worth electing him for?
Well, it's worth it to me. So
Well, then why are you talking down an idea to get maybe more Trump voters in there? By the way, before you answer that question, no.
Okay.
Now you're going to be
he throws something out there and then won't let me respond.
No, I want you to think about it first because it doesn't seem like you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Left-wing
this gentleman is, and I'm talking about a gentleman here. State representative, Iraq war platoon captain, National Guard. He's a philosopher, a lawyer, and a college professor. Please welcome, all the way from Waynesville, Missouri, Bill Hardwick. You don't get a song either. I'm not doing songs, so don't whine and cry like he did over
college professor. Ooh,
he is.
I don't know about that one.
He's not. He's not.
Might want to take that out of the.
Are you going to?
What do you call it? Curie vitae.
Say that.
How do you say that?
Are you professor?
Curricula vitae.
Huh?
Yeah, I taught college. Yeah, I taught college this last year.
Okay, so what's your problem? You're a civil engineer, although I don't see any civility in you at all.
Well, I will say this.
Yes.
I know a lot of college professors, and they're nothing like my good friend Bill.
Oh, isn't that sweet? So now you're together. Isn't that sweet? And you wanted him here. You said, what's the matter with Bill? He's the
then we share the
doesn't
mic
want
with
to
me.
share the mic
That's
with
right.
you. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So I guilted him.
So
into
what
it.
happened? He's here now.
I know.
So you're a happy
I appreciate
guy.
that.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. Someone had to arrange that,
Well, I think it actually was that you had given me the D slot for the day because you couldn't find anybody else.
The D slot.
The homeless guy on the corner.
You were closing the store right here.
Yeah.
You were the closing act.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
I never get the A slot.
The guys
Why
in the
is that?
beginnings that don't have the big audiences. I build the audience during the day.
Oh, is that
Everybody tunes in the last hour.
Yeah.
That's the best hour. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
I'm
don't
just
want to get up at 8 a.m.
I'm just used to professional radio, I guess, where they the early morning slot.
I'm
is
used
the
to
best- the drive time slot.
professional representatives.
I'm not.
There you go. Apparently he is.
No, technically neither of us are professional.
So I'm going to ask a question, let you guys answer it, and fight it over. Clyburn advises Kamala to stay away from the journalists. Did you answer your last question?
I thought you said Bill got to do this one first.
Yeah. Well, wait. I wanted to get make sure that your last question was answered.
My last question? Yeah. Oh, my last question is never answered. I just asked MoDOT. So
just ask MoDOT. Me?
Yeah.
Are you going to back
joke.
Are you going to back a lawsuit?
That joke went just a little bit too deep for you on that. But let's skip over that.
Too deep.
Yeah.
Yesterday, a truck.
Hardwick.
No, 2 days ago, a truck went over on St. James. They practically closed my St. James.
Wow.
store.
Yeah. Did you see that? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And they actually ran people through my MoDOT.
Yeah.
They ran people through my parking lot.
Cable barrier worked real good there, didn't it?
Well,
just saying.
Okay. You get my point. I'm sure I'm not the only business guy that contacts you guys.
I know, right?
All right. Yeah. Anyways, so I guess you don't have an answer for that. So why don't you answer the one about Clyburn? You know who he is, right? In South Carolina, I think he is. He advises Kamala to stay away from the journalists.
Okay, so that's such an easy question. I'm going to pass it on to the junior representative from Pulaski County.
Did you have to put junior in there? Is this something you're looking down at him because
I'm a couple of days older than
junior?
him, so
okay. Go ahead.
I would give Kamala Harris similar advice if I were her advisor. I have a hypothesis that the more you interact with the voters on TV, do interviews, talk to journalists, the more they could tell what you're really like. And if you're somebody who is condescending of the people of the country, if you look down on them, if you have these attributes that they probably don't want in leadership, these qualities, the more you interact with voters, the more they sense that. And so I think they're probably wise to say, let's not focus on what type of president Kamala Harris would be. Let's make this a referendum alternative to Donald Trump, right? And just have an abstract candidate. But I think that I think the voters really do tell what somebody's really like when they're out there running. They could tell if they love the people, if they want to serve the people, if they've got a heart for the people, they want to protect this country, serve this country, or if there's somebody who just kind of looks down on the people and has kind of an attitude of attitude of despision, an attitude of arrogance or condescension. The voters can pick up on that as well. So that's the same advice I would give her if I were her advisor.
What about Donald Trump?
I think Donald Trump does not have an attitude like that toward the people. I think that's actually why people in rural Missouri were so excited about Donald Trump to begin with, because it's not about whether or not he's got fight in him. He's got fight. Yeah, he says some things. He says some unscripted things for sure. But the workers, just like the construction workers in those buildings in New York City, just like the construction workers in Missouri, just like the cops and the veterans and the people the pipe fitters, they could tell he's somebody who kind of resonates with them. Yeah. And he's somebody he never talks down or looks down on regular working people in America. And that's one of the reasons why they're loyal to him.
Okay, so so you got a response to that?
That's why the bureaucracy hates him. And that's why the people love him, is because he's not he's not a product.
But he's a billionaire. Oh my God. How can you vote for a billionaire?
Well, because that is the one guy who can't be bought off, right? Okay. We've had a series of presidents, unfortunately on both sides of the aisle, who were influenced by the money in the system more than they were the people who actually voted him in there. And I think that's the attraction that a lot of people have with Donald Trump is that he's not part of that system. And let's face it, that was his choice for his running mate. Also, J.D. Vance, admittedly, he was a senator, but he'd only been a senator for 2 years. Yeah. And prior to that, I'm sure everybody's seen the movie from the book that he wrote, Hillbilly Elegy, of course.
Good movie.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that's a story that can be told by a lot of kids these days. And, what a heartwarming story, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We all either experience that ourselves or we know people who did. Mm-hmm. And this is the only country where you can do that. Well, it's fast turning into a country where you can't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the other side likes to talk about the lack of opportunity and that you're owed something because that opportunity doesn't exist, which is an out and out bold-faced lie. America is still the land of opportunity. Why did 12 million people cross the river on our southern border to get here? Yeah. Right? Because we are still the land of opportunity and freedom and liberty. But that will all go away, as Ronald Reagan reminded us, and we need to remind ourselves every day that freedom is just one generation from extinction. And that should be the focus of this election right here. How much do you love the freedom that you have? How much do you love the liberty that you enjoy right now that even Western countries don't enjoy this level of liberty and freedom?
So you both agree then Kamala should stay away from the journalists. She should stay away from all press, probably.
Just like all good directors of politburos everywhere.
Yeah, and Trump and JD should go all over the place. Go to town halls and journalist pressers and rallies and stuff like that, right?
The most interesting thing. Sorry, Bill. Before I forget this, the most interesting thing I ever saw is that the first Trump rally I went to was down in Springfield, Missouri, and I believe there was 25,000 people that could get in the building. There was another 25,000 in the parking lot, and they put up a big jumbotron and everything else. And So I talked to several people who were unfortunate enough to not be able to get in. And, normally in a thing like that, if you can't get into the concert or the baseball game or whatever, again, people complain incessantly over that.
Sure.
Now, this was not a nice night. It was pretty chilly that night. And so I talked to a few of those and I said, well, hey, man, sorry you didn't get in. It was, no, you know what? I was just glad that I was there. And you don't get that for anybody's rally, right? And so, you get 50,000 people to show up in Springfield, Missouri for a campaign.
By the
rally.
way, I was
You've
there.
really done something. So was I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I recognized your car. You were kind of blocking me off and
I did that
wouldn't
on
let me through.
purpose. Well, I just park anywhere I want, right? So,
Well, state rep. Come on.
Now, what
do I need to say?
You weren't I was
All right,
elected, but I wasn't.
So my
I
point
wasn't
was
sworn in
simple.
yet. Yeah.
Trump should be out there because that's what he's good at.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think a lot of people are a little afraid to admit, because of the way the government is so restrictive of Trump supporters, that he should actually be out there with the public because that's his thing.
Yeah,
that's what he's good at. And there's a lot of these voters who won't talk that they're Trump supporters because they get beat up by the press and they get beat up by the government.
Well, we're going to see that effect, actually.
Sure.
You can say anything you want at the coffee cooler the next morning, right? But when you go into that voting booth, at least up until now, that's still a secret ballot. You can vote any way you want. And then you can come out and say that, tell all your friends at the Bridge Club meeting or whatever. There's nothing against Bridge. I'm okay with. I don't know how to play it, but you can tell them whatever
If
they
you
want to
were
hear.
in the highway business, you'd know how to build a bridge, wouldn't you?
Oh, for peace sake! What you couldn't come up with a chicken joke in all of that?
Oh, don't worry, I got plenty of those, baby. Don't worry about that. So you're throwing me off, by the way. This is just terrible.
It's kind of my style.
So let's
right?
talk about
That's my
lawfare. Well, yeah, BS and all. Let's talk about lawfare here. Trump brought this up. Can we got a couple of clips about that? Let's play him a couple of clips and see if that lawfare thing comes up. 8 and 9.
I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in.
Too much?
Why wasn't that fact checked?
Which one?
Just curious.
Which one?
Her
well,
her
nothing was
inconsistency.
there was a deal made apparently,
Yeah, apparently.
that they wouldn't fact check her, and she got the questions. And another rumor, I don't know if this is verified yet, was that she had a hearing aid kind of thing. She was wired in.
Those were just big earrings. Come
Yes.
on, Dave.
I know it's a conspiracy
Kind of
theory.
like your earrings.
How many conspiracy? Well, we don't talk about that. Not on the show. Come on. I wore high heels for a week once, and I want to see how it felt in my foot, and it was terrible. It just hurt
That's
my
when
feet.
you first moved to Missouri.
But I met
right?
a lot of interesting new friends.
Yeah.
Tell you that much.
That's when you first
Anyways,
moved to Missouri, right? Because
well, they kicked me out of Chicago.
Well, it's because
But that was because I told on Vinny, witness protection program.
that joke took too long.
Hey,
to develop,
forget
too.
about it. Forget
The
about
hills,
it. Forget
right,
about it. All
Right.
right, can I go on with my interview?
All right,
Please
do.
All right, let's talk about Amendment 3.
Okay.
Something you both, I'm sure, know about. What's the stand on it in Missouri? What was the legislation? Bill, go.
Well, my stand on it is that we have to get as many people to know what's in it and vote no about it. The more people are educated on what Amendment 3 actually says, the more I think that it's liable to fail in the ballot box in November. If you talk to members of the Missouri Democrat Party and then the Democrats in the legislature, they're very confident that Amendment 3 is going to pass. They think that's what the people want. But if you look at Amendment 3, it's a fundamental right to abortion. There's no restriction to it. It's all 9 months of pregnancy. There's no lawsuit you can file against a doctor who makes a mistake, who commits malpractice performing an abortion. It's not safe for people in our state. And then we have to ask ourselves the question too, when do we think a human being has a right not to be killed and have their life taken away? And the Republican Party has always been the party of life and freedom since our founding, right? And so now I feel like this next couple months is us putting our money where our mouth is, and we're saying we're gonna protect life. This is a really extreme abortion measure. It's got no business being in the Missouri Constitution, and I think we need to vehemently oppose it.
Yeah. So absolutely, we're looking at an unvetted, unanalyzed petition here that was funded by outside organizations. And not only does it allow for unrestricted abortion, but it also, according to some legal minds that I've talked to, would totally eliminate our SAFE Act that we just passed, that protects children from being mutilated by their parents, and doctors who have convinced parents that a child needs some kind of transgender operation. So it's bad enough that it allows for killing babies that are about to be born, but it also allows for uninformed parents or poorly informed parents to allow doctors to do transgender operations on the kids. But the next thing is the way I read it, and perhaps Representative Hardwick might be able to comment on this too, but is that it doesn't restrict abortions to medical professionals. It essentially says, the best I can tell from reading it, that it would allow just about anybody to do an abortion. And I assume they put that in there so that they could take folks to these pop-up clinics wherever they want to, kind of like what they did in Chicago during the Democrat National Convention. And that, if a medical professional isn't available, anybody can do that, right? It's just easily done. I mean, the most disgusting thing I've ever seen is to use abortion as a prop at a political party's national convention. And so the challenges that we've got, I think it's been well pointed out, is to make sure that people who understand what this really does, make sure that they come out and vote. And we really do have a problem with that. Here's the way it shakes out, folks. In just about every election, especially anything that considers it something like this, the opposite side on this issue will have a 70% voter turnout. And then the people who would vote like me will have a turnout somewhere in the 40 to 45% category. Right. So if you want to watch your republic dissolve into nothing, if you want to take away any protections that we have put in there for babies, then just don't show up to vote, right? We
Okay.
have
Show
got
up
to
to
have
vote.
you. We have got to have you. You have got to vote. If you've never voted before, I guarantee you are probably registered to vote. You need to check on that right now, and you need to show up to vote. You can vote early here in Missouri. We call that, it's not called early voting here, but absentee ballot process. You can go into your county clerk right now today, and you can vote.
All right, back to Bill, but I want to know also about the constitutionality of this. Seems to me that you can't sue a doctor, and it doesn't even have to be a doctor doing an abortion. And if he messes it up, you can't sue him. Seems to me this in itself is unconstitutional. Plus, what about the 8th and 9th month of abortions and even past birth abortions? Transgenders, parents in jail, threatened with jail if they want to talk to their kids about this.
Yeah.
All right.
So constitutionality first. So let's go back to Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
So Roe versus Wade said there was a fundamental right for a woman to make that decision, and it took that away from the state. The ruling took that from the states. So when that was overturned in the Dobbs decision, that essentially, and I think President Trump is absolutely right, that's where it should be. Criminal law and laws of violence belong to the states, right? Assault, those are state laws. So there shouldn't be so the federal government no longer has a purview. Each state does what they want to. Whether or not there's a cause of action, federally there's a 7th Amendment, controversies an amount over $20, you get a right to a jury trial. In Missouri, the Missouri Constitution has open courts. It has some constitutional provisions. But if that's in the Missouri Constitution, state causes of actions are derivative of the authority of the Constitution. So you can eliminate an entire cause of action in the state through the Missouri Constitution, right? Even our judiciary exists by virtue of the Constitution, right?
So they can make this legal and not call it constitutional?
So it would be in the Missouri Constitution. Mm-hmm. So it would be part of the Missouri Constitution. That's why it wouldn't be unconstitutional in Missouri, because that's what the Missouri Constitution would say. It would say you can't sue if a doctor, even if a doctor kills a woman performing an abortion. So at least that's how a lot of people read it. So that's why it's such high stakes, is when something's in the Missouri Constitution, all branches of government, the executive, legislature, judiciary branch, all of our statutes, all of our regulations are subject to the Missouri Constitution. That's a lot of reason why a lot of us said it should be harder to amend the Constitution, because it's such a foundational structural document. So that's why it shouldn't be any multimillionaire or outside money can put whatever they want in our Constitution.
Which is what they've done.
Because we have to uphold the Missouri Constitution.
But they've done that, right?
That's what they're doing. But there's one more step, which is the people get to vote on it. And that's why we're saying, please vote no. Now, the other issue you raised about, like there was the father in Canada who had a teenage daughter, and they were trying to turn her into a boy. And he was saying, no, you're hurting my daughter. You should never have children. You're doing all these terrible things to this little girl who she doesn't even appreciate the consequences of it. And you don't either, because because parents' first duty is to protect their kids. And nobody really is going to love their kids and protect them like a good parent will. Mm-hmm. And the state's not going to do that, and society's not going to do that. And he fought against that, and he was thrown in jail.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us in Missouri said, what's happened in Canada is 10 years removed from what happens in Missouri, right? So that's one reason why we passed the SAFE Act, to say, hey, you can't legally, there's no scope of practice to transition a minor, right? The risk of the people and reading Amendment 3 to say, hey, that might undo that. That's a serious problem. But when children get transitioned, and a lot of those children came and talked to us at the Capitol who had a hormone treatment, or had even some different medical procedures done, and talked about how that irreparably harmed their life and messed them up. And when they were a little kid, they couldn't appreciate that. And they looked to adults to protect them. Adults have failed to protect them. And that's one reason why the legislature got involved. So I think that people in Missouri, the voters, conservatives, moderates, Democrats who have common sense, should appreciate how high stakes this amendment is. And they should take time to read it and think about it. And don't be caught up in the fervor, right? Think about it. Does this belong in the Constitution? Is this right for the people of Missouri? And I think more people who ask those questions honestly are going to vote no.
Is the SAFE Act in the Constitution?
No, the SAFE Act is statutory. So acts are statutory.
So you can X out the SAFE Act if this thing is this amendment goes through.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
good-
that's right.
Actually, a good portion of state statutes that have been passed by the elected representatives. And we can talk all day long about the good and the bad of what the state legislature has done over the years, but let's keep in mind that the state legislature is subject to the public. They get to vote on us, and they send the representative that they want to the state capitol with the expressed reason in our representative form, our republic, of doing the people's will at the state level. But in order to be able to do that, to make the right decision, we have to be informed on what those topics are. I won't say that our legislation is perfect every time, but it's a whole lot better than that 2 sentences that people read on the ballot before they check that box. And I would also encourage those folks to please read this thing. Keep in mind that marijuana was passed, had 38 pages of lawyer gobbledygook. No offense, Representative Hardwick, had 38 pages of lawyer gobbledygook that was meant to protect the industry, not to protect the people of the state of Missouri. And this is similar, very similar. Please, folks, read this. Ask somebody what this stuff means before you cast your ballot in favor of it.
All right, good advice from Mr. Mayhew, the representative, and good advice from Bill. Good information. Get out and vote. You got this is very important.
You get a first name, Bill.
I was trying to show respect to the elders. Apparently, you have no respect for the elders because you're always mocking me, and I'm older than you.
You are?
Well,
really?
That's very kind of you.
I
like that. I like that. So, so let's talk about Lawfare for a while, because that came up in the debate too, where she started using the 34 felonies and all that other stuff. How can you elect a guy like this that's been convicted of all this?
First time in my life I'm voting for a convicted felon.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a lot of them.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be about 80, 90 million of us doing that.
So I guess you're asking me to play jailhouse lawyer again when we have an actual lawyer here.
Oh, okay, Bill, you answer it first. Okay, because you are a lawyer. And what do you see has happened in this absolutely original Lawfare case that's never been done before in America? Okay.
So let's think about the Bill of Rights again. So the Bill of Rights is a reaction to what was normal the hundreds of years preceding the founding of the Republic, right? Where you had to have the state religion. You couldn't have opinions that contradicted the king. If you did, what happened? The soldiers came in and they took your guns out of your house, right? You had no private property rights. Then you might have had a court process, a post-Magna Carta court process, but it really wasn't a court process. It was you were an enemy of the state.
Yeah.
And so the Bill of Rights is really written imagining a powerful state government being weaponized against their citizens, right? And so they came up with these caveats, like you should be read the charges, like you have a right to an attorney, like you have a right to a jury. That jury trial is a super American thing, right? To prevent stuff like this, where somebody's just somebody who's the government is antagonistic toward them, and they use the wide power of the state, the wide police power, right? Which is a force power, which is arms, which is the DOJ has lots of power to surveil people, their cell phones, their text messages, their emails, they're wiretapping people, and the amount of resources they have to put against one person, right? And all we really have in the Bill of Rights is you get this lawyer, to kind of, and you get a jury. So the Constitution was written, and I think I was telling somebody this the other day, everything the framers of the Constitution were trying to prevent has happened, right? You say something you don't like, guess what? You get kicked off Twitter, right? There's every single government tendency is to disarm its citizens, and now we're normalizing this. I disagree with this political party. I'm going to run you out of town by prosecuting you, by trying to make you ineligible, by using the power of the state to defeat you. And if you think Donald Trump, you can't stand anything he says, you don't like whatever, you didn't like prosperity, and you don't like conservative judges, and you don't think we should have peace around the world and America should assert itself and there should be stability. If you don't like any of that stuff, for no other reason, you should say that the state prosecuting political enemies and using the DOJ as a weapon to silence dissent is something that is completely unacceptable. should terrify everybody, and you should vote for him just to defeat that proposition.
Let me add on to that a little bit, and then I'll get to Don. Tulsi Gabbard, you're familiar with her. She's an ex-representative, congressman from Hawaii, and she, in a debate with Kamala, she just tore Kamala apart, but she didn't do anything illegal. The next thing she knows, she gets on a plane, and suddenly they have to search her and her husband. They confiscated her phone, and they told her that, well, nothing's wrong here, but they kept doing it every time she got on a plane with her husband. And they took her phone, and they searched that, and they did this to her. And she found out later that they had designated her as a terrorist, and a special kind of terrorist. And so it's done apparently by the DOJ right now of the United States, and that's Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
And he came out yesterday and denied that he was involved in any of that. Do you believe it? Who is in charge of the FBI? Isn't it the Attorney General? Don.
So on to a finer point, presumption of innocence is a cornerstone of our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and the whole idea behind there is, and even a lot of Western countries don't have a presumption of innocence. You're required to prove that you're innocent, and so the idea that the government can accuse you of anything and then you have to prove your innocence was a totally new concept in jurisprudence, even in what we would have considered a modern parliamentary democracy at the time of the United Kingdom. Well, think about how important presumption of innocence is. We say in our Constitution that we would rather let 100 guilty men free than convict one innocent person. Now, that's pretty powerful when you think about it. What does that mean? That means the citizen is supreme, which is truly what our Constitution is based on. Let's face it, what we're looking at right now is the same kind of behavior after the French Revolution, after Bastille Day.
Right.
Even the originators of the French Revolution ended up getting their head cut off in the end. And so Tulsi Gabbard is an example of what I'm talking about, right? She was an advocate of the things that Kamala Harris was an advocate for in a general sense. They were both Democrats, right?
Right.
And then she speaks out against the machine, and look what happens to her. And we see the same thing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., right? The Kennedy family, for Pete's sake, right?
Yes.
And he is not that far removed from the generations that just idolized the Kennedy family.
Sure.
And so here he is exerting his constitutional right to say he has concerns about a government that he generally supports. And look what they did to him. They basically booted him out of the electoral process, which, by the way, is democracy.
And they took away his protection.
So
his Secret Service protection, which, my goodness, but his father and his uncle were both murdered.
Absolutely, and him being a target up there on TV every day makes
and the same party takes away his right to have
but for obvious reasons, to silence him.
Well, yeah,
and because he wasn't towing the party line, and I'm not even saying that the average rank and file member of the people that would call themselves a Democrat are against democracy. But I think the machine is. Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex, and we are full bore onto that right now. So anything that would interfere with that process has been established through these out-of-control bureaucracies is a threat to the out-of-control bureaucracy. And that is the real enemy of the people right now. It's not us arguing about one policy decision or another, but we should all be unified against this machine that is putting all of these restrictions on us and taking away the very liberty and freedom that our forefathers fought so hard for.
And power that
Absolute
we have
power.
as individual citizens. That's well said, by the way.
So any government...
See, I didn't say that to Bill necessarily, but I said that was well said. Now, let's go back to Bill. What are your feelings toward it? Did you answer this already or what?
I think that's right. And I think that John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy they wouldn't be part of the modern Democrat Party.
No.
It's too, even those guys oppose communism.
And the families dumped on RFK.
Yeah, and RFK,
his families.
He resonates because he resonates a lot of ways Trump did in 2016.
Yeah.
He represents something different. He says the status quo is not working. You're being mistreated by this system. Don alluded to Eisenhower's military-industrial complex warning. That came true too. What Eisenhower was saying was, you're going to have these interests, and they want their own power.
Sure.
And they're going to start driving policy in this country.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the people driving policy anymore. And their interests are not what the interests of the country are. And over time, so it was the military-industrial complex, the defense industry. A lot of people say it's now the pharmaceutical industry.
DOJs.
Well, see, now it's the fourth estate and the administrative state, right? They have their own goals and agenda. And that's not the same as what I'm just a citizen who's just trying to feed their family and raise their kids and be safe and just, and have a good life and put food on their table. They don't have the same interest.
You can't be an honest. Here, I'm going to say something. You cannot be an honest politician if you are bound to people other than the ones that elected you. You cannot be an honest one if you're doing the biting of unelected bureaucrats.
Yeah,
you're one of them.
I think you're not honest if you say one thing. Like if I came to you and I said, Dave, I believe in 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then I go to Jeff City and I do the opposite of 1, 2, 3, 4. Then that's when I'm not honest.
You say it like Don does?
No, Don doesn't
didn't
do
say
that.
that.
Don doesn't
No.
do that. Don doesn't do that. Don's
No, I
honest.
didn't think so.
Don,
I skipped 3.
I'll say this sincerely. Don is an honest state legislator. So, but because
He's a what?
He's honest. Don is one of the honest people, elected officials. That's
Okay.
true. So I think if I said, hey, man, I love me, whatever, I think we should fund this thing.
Yeah.
And I was true to what I said I would do.
Yeah.
Even if you disagreed with it, I think I'm still having integrity about what I am.
Yeah.
But the people who I have trouble with are the people who go to here and they go to the farmers and they go to whatever and they say one thing to you.
Right.
And then they do the exact opposite. That's what I have a problem with. So if you're pro abortion or you're pro gun control or you're pro whatever, or you're pro the state doing that, if that's what you tell the citizens and they vote for you and you do that, fine.
Yeah.
But don't be one thing there
Right.
and then have the exact opposite position when it's time to vote.
Right. Is that kind of the definition of a rhino?
I think so. Rhino is a definition that gets thrown around a lot today. And my definition of rhino is somebody who uses so I guess I would describe rhino as somebody who they use the Republican Party label to get elected because voters are sick of the Democrat Party and they're sick of liberal policies. And then when they get to Jeff City, they're indistinguishable from the Democrats, from the establishment, from the swamp, right?
Yeah.
But they claim the mantle of Republican because people say, hey, this is what I want. I want limited government. I want a balanced budget. I want freedom. I want families to be able to have a fighting chance. I want the state to be put in check.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of Chinese farmland.
Yeah.
I want to have power taken away from these central concentration power, give back to people. And they're pro-life. They're pro-Second Amendment, right? They're pro-individual freedom.
Right.
And so that's where I think most voters around here are on those issues. So somebody takes that label, so those voters support them, and they say, yeah, that's me too. But that's not what they are. That's what I think a rhino is.
I want to get a couple more clips in. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hang on a second. I need to point out that Bill forgot most humble state representative also.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that we got that distinction in there too. So, but to that finer point that, we have freedom of the press here. And, what we're seeing in the press right now has actually existed since our inception where, the press is slanted one way or the other. And John Adams said it the best. I wish I could remember the quote. He said that, hey, let's face it, you're going to have the press supporting one side, part of the press supporting one side, part the other side. The truth is somewhere in the middle is basically what he was saying. But he never envisioned a time where the profit motive wasn't enough to encourage there to be an even split. You know, our electorate, let's face it, we're probably split about 50-50 based on elections that we've seen.
What?
But the press definitely is not.
No, right.
It's 95-5, and we saw that in spades with the debate the other night. You know, that was obviously a 3-on-1 kind of a thing, right? And you could get that just about anywhere in the press. And so without that balance in there, the fourth estate is useless to the people. The fourth estate being the free press. And they were given that power for a specific reason so that they could be the watchdog. But now they're not the watchdog. They're part of the problem. They're Pravda. 95% of the press in the United States is Pravda.
So am I looking at you with using your phone like that you have gotten the questions early in this little debate?
No, because
I mean, what are you doing?
Because there is such a lag between what you say.
Yeah.
I usually have to write a note to myself on the response.
You're actually look at him. He's got his phone there. He's reading. Bill.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing.
No. I don't want an
earrings,
answer to that.
right?
Two more. We're going to have two more clips, and then we're going to be over by any way of commenting on that.
We want to talk about cats before I leave.
I know, and I got it down. Dogs and cats.
Okay.
Yeah. Hit it.
They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban.
They have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote.
So the irony of this is that now they were so against the Supreme Court and Roe v. Wade and all that stuff. Well, now that Roe v. Wade has been pretty much killed by the Supreme Court, now they want it back. The same liberals who wanted abortion by whatever got it killed. They wanted Roe v. Wade killed. They did it, and now they want it back. Do you get it?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, that's the same thing with the SAFE Act that we did here in Missouri for the protection of minors from having these transgender operations. That is such an important cornerstone of everything that they believe in, that's to the lengths to which they will go to get it.
Okay. You have any comment on that?
I think that the media is always saying Donald Trump's inconsistent on that. I don't think I don't see him as inconsistent. Because I see it differently, like a lot of people do. He is the most pro-life president we've had. Look at what we've done. We've overturned Roe versus Wade, and he is going to have a presidency that's good for women, good for healthcare. Abortion and healthcare aren't the same thing in my mind. They're different things, right?
Sure.
Now, yeah. So I think that you could say, hey, there's a person, that person deserves to have a chance to live, that needs to be protected. And we're going to have an administration that's good for women. And that's always been my position. I think most conservatives have the position. We want women to be protected and we want babies to be protected.
How do women justify killing baby girls? How do they? They're killing girls.
Let's not limit it with baby girls.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know, they want this power of women, and they're killing baby girls.
But
that doesn't register.
But wait a minute, hang on a second.
Yeah,
these folks aren't talking about killing their children. They just want to be able to kill your children.
They're talking about their children too, I think.
Well, most of these people that have at least have advocated to me wouldn't be subject to it because of their age or whatever, right? But let's face it, there's certainly some of them want that option available, but what they want is to make sure that you have a right to kill your kid.
Closing argument, 30 seconds, Bill.
This is a historic election. It's super important. Everybody's got to vote. Educate yourself. Think for yourself, right? Don't let the media tell you what to think. Do your own research. Think critically and about the kind of country you want to live in, because we're going to make a decision on that.
30 seconds.
So I got to point out the headline in the Babylon Bee real quick. And here, after Trump's comments about the cats being killed, Babylon Bee came up with, media assures Americans that migrants haven't killed any cats, just women and children.
All righty. All right. Hey, thanks a lot, gentlemen. I thought it was a pretty good debate, didn't you? I mean, this is good stuff. We could do a TV show.
It wasn't much of a debate.
Huh? Excellent. Great job. Don cheated a little bit with his phone, but that's all right. And I just want to say thank you, and I will treat you to lunch if you like at McDonald's. I will forego some of the duties I have as a traffic director, and we'll be back with another edition of the Dave Weinbaum Show next Friday.